What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 10s Chapter 201 ZFA's self-choice back in Dressrosa, Doflamingo followed Tyr like a little brother. On the city street, Tyr stared at the countless toy puppets. Doflamingo, if you continue to expand your power in the world, your life will not last long. This sentence is Tyr's warning to Doflamingo that he has the ambition to subvert the world and plunge the whole world into panic. Especially North Blue, which Tyr is about to leave for. Even the Kingdom of Germa, which originally ruled North Blue, retreated under the expansion of Doflamingo. Will your righteous judgment come upon me? Maybe? What do you mean? Doflamingo asked curiously. With the name Shichibukai, he is not afraid of anyone under the care of the world government. However, Teal is an exception. Now that the four emperors are gone, the pinnacle of pirate power on the sea has naturally fallen to Shichibukai. This sea will soon receive its final cleansing, and what you do will become the key to your death. When he didn't get an accurate answer, Doflamingo looked at Ty's back and walked away. After 2 days of sightseeing in Dressrosa, Tyr returned to the blacksmith shop, took back a new scabbard that had been polished evenly, and left the country. A few days later, New World Piliodo Island. The huge marine soldiers and Neo Marine had a head-on confrontation on this completely barbaric island. It's really incredible, Kuzan, Perusalino. The old Zephyr faced the 2 marine generals alone, and he was already out of breath and tired. Aokiji watched Kizaru crush Zephyr and stood aside without taking any action. The other Neo-Fresh Marine cadres who were surrounded by the Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General had no power to fight back. This is a war with great disparity in strength. Teacher Zephyr, we can't let you destroy this island anymore. Kizaru, who was holding a lightsaber and constantly clashing with Hailushi's arm, showed no mercy at all. All forces comprehensively suppressed Zephyr. Even if you know that you will definitely lose, even if you know that the 2 enemies Miss Bajan and Wable on the sea have been killed by Tel recently. In this era, Zephyr can no longer stop. You can't blow up the crater of this island with dynamite, teacher. Advertisement, ahem. Zephyr looked at the disciples he taught in the past, never thinking that one day he would become his enemy. I'm really old, damn it. What exactly are you thinking? Teacher Zephyr, why do you want the entire new world to be buried with you? Haha. Zephyr fought back Kizaru with a disdainful smile. That's not because Marine is so shameless now. In order to recruit combat power to protect Marijoya's regime, he did not hesitate to let the evil pirates who massacred the civilians of the sea join the Shichibukai. There's nothing we can do about it. Kizaru attacked Zephyr again and immediately answered him. We are Marines loyal to the world government, and orders are everything. The extremely heavy sword completely bent ZFA's knees. He knelt on the ground with his straight body and one leg, holding up the seafloor stone arm to block Kizaru's slashing attack with a look of embarrassment. You are getting old too, Teacher Zephyr. Kizaru swung out his sword and chopped off Zephyr Halu's mechanical arm. The moment he was defeated, Kizaru turned into a flash of light and jumped into the air. Flashing dazzling light shone on the earth, and countless lasers fell from the sky and rushed towards Zephyr, who collapsed on the ground. This ending is also what I expected. Goodbye, Teacher Zephyr. The powerful attack of the 8-foot Chong Magatama fell on Zephyr on the ground. The mournful cry with the scabbard came from the distant sea and penetrated the air to the island of Piliodo. It landed accurately in front of Zephyr, emitting a sword energy barrier to surround Zephyr. All the lasers hitting the sword energy were split into fluorescent lights in the air and dissipated in the air. Seeing that all the moves he was preparing to take ZFA's life were blocked, Kizaru fell to the ground and watched Tyr appear, who was gradually transforming on the hilt of the black sword's mournful blade. Tyle, what are you doing? This operation has nothing to do with you. Please don't interfere with our mission, okay? Tyr sat on the hilt of his sword, and Zephyr, who had collapsed to the ground from exhaustion, said, You know you can't succeed, but you still go to this point. Why are you, Zephyr? Haha, it's just the last madness of a retired person. Zephyr smiled and replied to Tyr's words. Thinking of 2 years ago, Tyr still owed him a favor. It's time to pay it back. Picking up the black knife, Tail fell to the ground and walked towards Kizaru and Aokiji. There is no need to kill your teacher, right? Do you know what you are talking about? He has reached this point by any means necessary to destroy the new world, Tyr. Advertisement. Our duty in this mission is to prevent and eliminate this hidden danger. The arrival of Tyr caused all the soldiers to stop fighting among themselves. It's rare to see 3 general-level combatants in the same frame. Aokiji's arrival, to put it bluntly, is to prevent the explosion of dynamite rock, leaving all other matters to Kizaru and his lieutenant generals. Can't we just let him stay in a new prison for the rest of his life? How about giving me some face? Zephyr was very unhappy after hearing what Tyr said. He would spend his entire life working for the Marines and eventually spend his old age in a prison where pirates were imprisoned. He was not willing to die. If you still miss the old relationship, Taylor, just mind your own business. Zephyr stood up and punched Tyr, but he quickly dodged it and missed it, causing his body to lose balance and almost stumble to the ground. After dodging, Tyr looked at Zephyr. How could he not understand in his heart that his crime was enough to warrant death 10,000 times? The plan to destroy New World and try to restart the world has caused irreparable casualties. The number of casualties caused by ZFA's operation alone was several times the number of people killed by Tyr. Even Tyr could not find any words to defend him. Seeing the expression on Tyr's face, Zephyr wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, pointed at himself with his thumb and said boldly, "I am Z. I will stick to it no matter what I do." Zephyr gave up the only opportunity that could give him a chance to live and died happily. All the lieutenant generals present except Tail, Aokiji, and Kizaru shed silent tears. Lieutenant generals recalled his stern teachings. "Up to you." Feeling ZFA's awakening, Tail silently left the fighting area. As a general, he also has the responsibility to protect the New World, so no matter what he chooses, ZFA's road is over. Unless Tyr betrays Marine, this is obviously impossible. Although he is extreme in his heart, he still has reason. Later, the lieutenant generals tearfully ordered the tens of thousands of soldiers standing on the hills to launch the final general attack on Zephyr. No. Teacher Z. Ain, who was loyal to Zephyr, had tears of reluctance on his face and wanted to run up to die with him. But was stopped. The disciple who fought together for decades ended up being the one who ended his miserable life. Those who are too loyal will not end up with good results in the end. Tyr said these meaningful words in front of everyone, and left Pilioto alone to fly to North Blue. Neo Marine has been completely defeated, and Zephyr will eventually be exhausted and defeated here to end his tragic life. Chapter 202 can only be resurrected in this way. ZFA's death made Tyr, who had never been confused, fall into confusion. Then I recalled what Karina said in her diary, "If I were to live my life over again, I would never be a Marine." Teal, who thought he had fully understood this sentence, now realizes how much it satirizes the world. The world is distorted, justice is deformed, and people are forced to embark on the path of crime in order to survive. The world's most powerful man doesn't care about worldly affairs, sitting in his greenhouse castle and enjoying a good quality of life. On the vast sea, Tyr was sitting on his island and flying low over the sea. His mind kept thinking about everything he had experienced over the years. Maybe it's time to let the guy who is above the 5 elders fall off the altar. Before setting off for North Blue, Tyr first went back to his hometown where he traveled through time and came to this world. Both Colonel Knowles and the guys who bullied Tyr when they were young have now become extremely afraid of Tyr. No one could have imagined that naughty complainer would do so many earth-shattering things in the world. About a week later, after the Zephyr incident, another newspaper that shocked the world came one after another. All members of the Kingdom of Germa publicly declared to the world that they will completely surrender to Marine General Sword God Tyr. Holy Land Marie Joya. Something is going wrong. 5 elders. 5 elders. The signal soldier in the corridor leading to Pangu Castle, sweating profusely, fell due to excessive nervousness. "Why are you so panicked?" The 5 elders, who were dealing with documents for the upcoming World Conference, all looked at the signal corps in shock. The soldier got up and stood in front of the 6 people in the hall. Rob Luki. Seeing Luo Bu Luki standing next to Wu Laoshi, the soldier was stunned. Then report the event. The G8 base did not receive permission from the government and dispatched a large number of warships to the Holy Land Marie Joa without permission. What did you say? Peter, the god of farming and martial arts, looked shocked. Is there no reason? What is the reason for sending troops? Such news made all 5 elders members look nervous. A marine base with strong military power sends troops to the world government? Let them not know what Tyr's purpose is. General Sword God said that the troops were sent this time to protect the safety of the kings of the 175 participating countries, as well as the royal families and nobles. We are fully capable of protecting their safety. Why does that guy need to send troops here? The god of scientific defense, Jigal Sia Satan, said angrily. How many troops are coming? Probably. Came out in full force, the soldier said tremblingly. What did you say? All the soldiers in the G8 base came out. The information is like this, I just reported it truthfully. Advertisement. What on earth does that guy want to do? Could it be? One of the 5 elders directly thought the worst. Contact Sakaski immediately and ask him to withdraw all excess troops. We don't need so many troops to escort us. The new Marineland was built under the Holy Land Marie Joa, and there would only be a slight turmoil in the Holy Land. Marine can also arrive with immediate support, but this time it is Marine who sends troops to the Holy Land. On the Visalia Sky Island, inside the Advanced Human Technology Laboratory, Stussy, Caesar, Jaji, and Mulan were all brought here by Tyr as scientific personnel studying the resurrection of Tiffany and Shisha. It has been several days since the resurrection plan began and it has already produced results. Well, the collection of devil fruit abilities is not ideal. After recording the experimental results, Mulan suddenly came to Tyr and spoke politely. As a small country with war technology, it was the first time it received an order from Tel, and she worked hard to complete it. It doesn't matter, keep using your scientific mind, Mulan. Although the collection of devil fruits is not ideal, I have found the dark fruit, burnt fruit, and karma fruit. Among them, the Shishao fruit was obtained by intercepting the Doflamingo forces in New World. Stussy failed to persuade Vegapunk because Tyr killed two of his friends, Monkey D. Dragon and Bartholomew Bear, making him unwilling to help in this resurrection operation. As for Sanji's father and the Kingdom of Germa, they are all controlled by Tyr's abilities and can be manipulated as he pleases. Without Vegapunk's mind, it would be difficult for us to perfectly reproduce adults. Stussy, who was operating the laboratory equipment, said to Teal. Damn it. The MADS organization has been disbanded long ago, why did you bring me here too? Caesar, known as a genius scientist, was forcibly captured by Tyr to carry out his plan. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and continue, otherwise I will kill you. Tyr punched Caesar in the face, forcing him to continue working on the experimental console. You are squeezing geniuses. Damn it, Caesar complained, not daring to disobey Tyr's orders. Then, Tyr looked at the two storage cabinets, where two babies were quickly conceived using the DNA of Tiffany and Sisha. Two baby girls. No, this is already the limit. Without the technology provided by Vegapunk, we cannot replicate their previous bodies. Master. Jaji came to Tyr and knelt down on one knee. The appearance of half-year-old babies is already the limit. Stop it. If there is insufficient technical support, problems will arise if you force them to grow. Hearing such words, Tyr was very unwilling to give up. Could it be that it can only give birth to babies like Tiffany and Shisha, etc.? Tyr's cheeks suddenly swelled up, revealing a long-lost smile with a hint of evil charm. Tiffany and Sis's baby looks? Support your wife? Advertisement personally trained two extremely beautiful wives to grow up, and then marry them back. Haha, this process. I seem to be willing to accept it. Quick. 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 Tyr's whole body trembled with excitement as he walked towards the two nutrition cabins. That expression. Nami put on a look of disgust. Isn't it the first time you did that to me? You smile so evilly, what are you thinking about? As soon as Caesar finished speaking, a big bump was punched on his head by Tyr. Wow, Shisha and Tiffany in front of Tyr cried out like babies. No one knew that at this moment Tyr's heart had been healed bit by the baby appearance of Shisha and Tiffany. Tyr, who left the laboratory with Shisha and Tiffany in their infant form, sometimes laughed out loud, and sometimes roared in anger. It was like asking Tyr if he had the ability to protect them. No one can hurt you again, ha 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 ha. I almost destroyed this world for you. Taking the two of them from Stussy's hands, Tyr immediately gave their infant bodies the huge and thick sword energy in his body. Tyr laughed happily and let them float in front of him towards the outside of the experiment. They can now say that they are half-year-old human newborns. This is the greatness of science. Everyone was shocked during the experiment, including Uda, Nami, and Robin, who were standing outside the laboratory and observing the situation inside through the glass. Tyr looked at them, who were about half a year old, and his pupils were even bigger than Kazilan's big eyes. After getting the answer he wanted, the darkness in Tyr's heart that almost fell was completely illuminated by the two baby girls in front of him, forming an extremely strong sword energy protective barrier. So, is it time to let us go back? Stussy asked subconsciously. Get them out of here quickly, don't make any mistakes. The nutrition cabin opened, and the resurrected baby girls Shisha and Tiffany came out wrapped in cloth. It seems to be an expression of excitement and anticipation, Robin said as if he had guessed what Tyr was thinking. Immediately, Tyr coughed twice, adjusted his posture and spoke to them. What's wrong with him? Uda asked curiously. Tyr responded to them with high spirits and a bright smile on his face. The first time I saw Tyr trembling all over. At what stage are their current values? In other words, they can grow like normal babies? Tyr continued to ask, he wanted to understand these things clearly. Go back. Don't let anyone disturb me. Tyr agreed readily. Make sure nothing goes wrong. That's right, Sword God. Mulan replied to Tyr's question. You don't seem to be disappointed with this result? In the perfect stage, even if you grow a little bit more, there is a high chance of deformity or other bad effects. Well, it seems that Ba Jin's eagerness for success led to Weibel's deformity. Not only was he not disappointed, it simply illuminated the darkness in Tyr's heart. It's okay. Now I am the only one in the world and no one can take you away again. Ha ha ha, support my wife. Support my wife. Like a schizophrenic patient, everyone present was stunned. The smile on his face made Tyr's heart melt. Advertisement chapter 203 The Sword God who can't take care of a baby. There are still 2 weeks until the World Conference. Morning. On the Sky Island lawn in Visalia, Tyr, who was letting Shisha and Tiffany lie on his chest, blew the breeze with a comfortable expression on his face and stared at them with squinted eyes. One is born with pink hair and the other is with black hair. It is easy to tell who is who. The World Conference brings all 175 countries together at the conference's round table. What exactly do you want to do? The upcoming World Conference makes Tyr a little worried. By eliminating the four emperors, and so many threats on the sea, Tyr made the greatest contribution to maintaining the stability of the government in the modern era. Logically speaking, the government would not launch sanctions against Tyr. But this World Conference always makes Tyr worried. Wow, a cry brought Tyr back to reality. Tyr looked at the crying Shisha in front of him and clutched the skin on his chest with all his strength. What's wrong? Taylor sat up suddenly in worry. He has no experience taking care of children. Haha, Nami laughed not far away. If you treat them like this, they will starve to death sooner or later. Say it as if you know it very well. Taylor twitched his mouth and immediately refuted Nami's words. Shisha, who was only half a year old, cried because she was hungry. After seeing this, Tiffany began to cry loudly as if she was emotionally resonated. HMPH, how can you not feed your children so early in the morning when they are so hungry, and let them come and cool off? Are you yelling at me? What else? Nami was on the edge of the island not far away, using an extremely advanced telescope to observe the sea and paint at the same time. She stayed here for a year and was relieved of Luffy's death. Just want to do what you want to do wholeheartedly. Then what can you do? Do you guys have milk? You are so big and useless. A woman who has never given birth will not have milk. Therefore, Tyr can't count on them at all, and will not leave Tiffany and Shisha to them or anyone else to raise them. No matter whether they are fighting or doing anything, they will be taken by Tyr with them. Pervert. It's not working, you didn't say that when you touched it. After scolding Tyr, Nami continued to kindly remind. Although we don't have milk, there is so much goat milk in Kongdao that you can feed them with goat milk. Goat. Will goat's milk work? Taylor didn't understand this aspect at all and asked subconsciously. Aside from fighting and killing, it seems like you are not good at anything in life. If you yell again, Lousy will kill you. Tyr clenched his fists, stared at Tiffany and Shisha and forced himself to endure it. Advertisement. If you don't understand, you have to learn. There is no harm in being modest. Everything is for them. Tyr got up and walked towards the pasture with the crying women. I'm going to find Uda. Out of the three of you, you look like a shrew in comparison, Nami. I'm a girl. Why am I a shrew? Upon hearing this, Nami was so angry that her teeth sharpened. He cursed at Taylor profusely for a long time. Looking at Tyr's retreating back, Nami suddenly felt that he was much better now than before when he was full of murderous intent. Sure enough, can those two women bring him back to his senses? It should be a baby now, right? Thinking about it, Nami continued to focus on returning to the work of drawing sea charts. After hurriedly calling the two babies, Sisha and Tiffany, to the ranch, Tyr saw Uda, who was wearing a jumpsuit and working. Humming the sounds of nature in his throat, he feeds the cattle, horses and livestock in the pasture. Stop crying, my two little babies, huh? The cry attracted Uda's attention, and she looked at Tyr, who came to the ranch. What you're doing is completely inconsistent with who you are. Quickly get me some goat's milk to feed these two little ancestors. I have expected this to happen. Uda took out two filled bottles from his pocket and threw them to Tyr. After all, how can a guy like you know how to take care of a child? Although we don't know how to take care of a child, we're definitely more experienced than you. After taking the bottle, Tyr immediately stuffed it into the mouths of the two little ancestors before letting them settle down. But you can't protect them. Is there anything unsafe on this empty island? Uda stroked the cows in the pasture and said to himself without looking at Tell. No one is safe, only my sword energy protection is safe. Nowadays, no one in Tyr can completely believe that Robin, Nami, and Uda were all captured by him. Tyr didn't feel at ease leaving Shisha and Tiffany to them. Only by staying by his side could he feel at ease and suppress the countless extreme thoughts in Tyr's heart. Anyway, I'm locked up here by you, so do whatever you want. I just want to see the sea return to happiness and peace one day. No one can hug them except me, Tyr said to Uda. Uda was speechless. They're mine, Tyr continued with a sudden serious expression. Who wants to rob you? Don't act like everyone is your enemy, you are a scary and comfortable guy. Haha, it was an accident that day. Advertisement. Tyr said to her with a grin. Don't you know what Uda means by comfort? As for the peace of the sea, it will surely come soon. Real? Who knows? Tyr's current power is so formidable that it is almost impossible to find an opponent. Whether it's the world government 5 elders or the guy who is above the 5 elders. Although Tyr had never seen them take action, he didn't take them seriously. Since they will be afraid of the strength of the 4 emperors, even if they die, they will not have the power to threaten Tyr today. Now, even the 4 emperors would tremble under the sword of Tyr. Damn it, you can't grow faster. Looking at Tiffany and Shisha who looked like babies, Tyr knew that he would bring them up single-handedly. A week flies by in a blink of an eye. There are about 100 warships docked under the Red Earth continent. This huge amount has caused panic among world governments. Be it the Draco or the 5 elders, they were all shocked by Taylor's move. The hundreds of thousands of troops were not used by Tyr to fight the war, but to intimidate the government. On a sunny morning, Tyr took Sissa and Tiffany to the Holy Land Mary Joa. Hundreds of thousands of mighty army soldiers lined up in countless human-shaped passages. We are welcoming 175 kings one after another. They traveled from all over the world to come to the Holy Land of Mary Joa. Attend this quadrennial world conference. Discuss the current direction of the world, the development of the world, the economic situation of the world, and the dangers of the world. All 4 emperors were defeated, and the threat from pirates was almost negligible. In a sea without 4 emperors, continuous wars between countries are inevitable. What caused the war was the conspiracy of the world government. They gain profits from wars to continuously strengthen themselves and weaken the major kingdoms. To maintain the 800-year rule of the Tianlong people. This self-directed and self-acted conspiracy will soon be sanctioned by the sword god of justice. Chapter 204 World Conference. Goodbye Shalulia. There is still 1 week left before the conference starts. The king's nobles who arrived first felt generous and affirmative for the government's security measures. The government is so considerate that it spends such a huge force to protect us. That's enough to show the importance of this meeting, right? Then, they watched as a soldier ran to Tyr who was carrying 2 children, as if he was carrying some news. General, Shalulia Palace is eager to see you. The soldiers looked at the 2 babies floating in front of Tyr and were very confused. Everyone guessed that this was Tyr's flesh and blood. No one knows about Tyr's personal plan to resurrect Sissa and Tiffany. Master Tianlong is really difficult to maintain. I have declined her so many times. Tyr shook his head helplessly, holding the ramen bowl and sighed. Forget it, let's go there. I've left her alone for a whole year, and I don't know what she's like anymore. Regarding the idiot Shalulia Palace, Tyr initially just wanted to use his authority to do something, but he has never taken advantage of her once. Except physically. Walking under the umbrella where Fujitora was, Tyr put the empty ramen bowl on the table in front of him. He picked up another bowl and held it in his hand. This really shocks me, Lord Sword God, Fujitora said with a long face. There are 2 babies next to you. Whose children are they? Although he knew that Tyr had a habit of kidnapping people, he wouldn't kidnap a baby girl, would he? Fujitora asked curiously. My little bodhisattva, little ancestor. Tail controlled the 2 noodles in the bowl with his fingers and sent them to the mouths of Chisha and Tiffany. His face was full of supreme love for them. I didn't expect that, Lord Sword God. You already have a family at such a young age. Why didn't I know about this? During the First World War, Fujitora's terrifying combat effectiveness was noticed by the government and marine executives, and he was promoted to a candidate for future general. In the meantime, Smoker was promoted to lieutenant general and left tail. His prickly personality was forced to serve as the G5 base commander, managing a group of marines who were more terrifying than pirates. Dasky also served as his deputy and stayed with him. The only people traveling with Tyr this time were Fujitora Yishao and a large number of unknown school officers and generals. That's right. After finishing a long noodle for Chisha and Tiffany, Tyr continued to reply to Fujitora. They are my family. Aren't you worried that they will become your Achilles heel? If anyone has such an idea, I will chop off his head immediately and let him see his body being eaten up by dogs. When Fujitora heard what Taylor said, he didn't question it at all. Advertisement. With a smile, the command of the army is handed over to you. Please escort our noble kings. I will do my best to fulfill my responsibilities. Fujitora could hear a hint of murderous intent in Tyr's words, and Fujitora had expected it even before sending troops. Afterwards, Tyr walked towards the huge castle where Shalulia was staying. Is it because of the relationship between the 2 baby girls that the violent murderous intention disappeared? Fujitora thought as he looked at the aura on Tyr's body. He didn't find any negative emotions from Tyr, only positive emotions. Perhaps, after the World Conference, the world will undergo earth-shaking changes? This huge team changes shifts day and night, and its awe-inspiring military power puts a lot of pressure on the Tianlong people and the 5 elders. The 5 elders had no choice but to order all the celestial dragons to stay in the gorgeous castle behind closed doors. It can be said that the entire Holy Land Mary Joa is currently under Tyr's control, but he is not acting rashly. Passing through the huge forest like a fairyland, Tyr came directly to where Shalulia lived. What? Tyr looked at the 2 people, Sissa and Tiffany, who were curious about everything and said. You seem to like such beautiful scenery, right? Ah, wow, the 2 of them responded to tell with baby calls, making him want to laugh for no reason. Those fat little hands like a baby kept grabbing back and forth in the air, healing Tyr's heart all the time. Even Tyr himself never thought that things would develop like this, resurrecting 2 people he loved in a baby way. One allows Tyr to grow, the other is willing to die for Tyr, and corrects Tyr's wrong behavior from time to time. How could he not like them? However, this prosperous appearance is maintained by too many shady political means. Arriving outside the familiar gate of the castle, Tyr did not see Shalulia Palace waiting on the steps. The castle gate is open, and there are no basic guards around. Tyr climbed the stairs and entered the castle. When I came to the hall that smelled of alcohol, I saw an extremely decadent woman with a red face and an alcohol addiction. That untouchable Shalulia Palace, wearing a formal dress, put on a very disgusted expression, and sternly cursed. Damn it, that damn untouchable. Suddenly, a cute cry came from behind her, making Shalulia Palace shiver all over. He suddenly looked back and saw a cute baby face. Wow, haha, Tiffany was smiling at her less than a decimeter away. Advertisement, baby. Shalulia, who was drunk, moved her eyes upward and saw Tyr's pretty face. Her whole body was paralyzed on the spot, and she no longer knew what had happened to her. She stayed there and stared directly at Tyr, who was wearing a coat of justice. Lord God. What's wrong with you? Well, looking at Chisha who was sucking Tyr's finger, Shalulia's facial expression gradually became distorted. Ah, okay. You damn pariah, you lied to me for a year and took out all the children outside. This doesn't seem to have anything to do with you wanting to see me, right? Tyr didn't care about Shalulia's angry look at all, he just stood behind her and stared at her. The majesty of the celestial dragon was gone, leaving only a frail woman, biting her lip and staring at Tyr with the word, sad, written all over her face. Damn it. If you want to give birth, it should be me. I should give birth to you, not some other sloppy woman. Shalulia instantly picked up the valuable pistol and aimed it at Tel, feeling extremely mentally unstable. Alas. Faced with this misunderstanding, Tyr also slowly approached her. Don't come here, otherwise I'll shoot you. Tel walked up to her and took her trembling hands holding the pistol with one hand. Feeling the warmth of Tyr's palm, she instantly went limp. Take the gun out of her hand and call her name softly. Shalulia, what happened to you? This shout directly made Shalulia feel numb all over, and she subconsciously replied to Tyr. You are a pariah who abandoned me for a year, don't call me a god by my name. Looking at Shalulia's crimson cheeks that had fallen, she was so eager that she was breathing rapidly. Shalulia pursed her lips and said with difficulty. Have you forgotten what you promised me before? I have been a widow for a year, quickly. Hurry up, Mom. I can't. Taylor pursed his lips and covered his face, speechless. It was all his fault, and he killed this old woman at that time. Forget it, let her have a good dream. Tyr thought to himself and raised his sword fingers. Bang. The sword finger flicked between her eyebrows, and he was instantly immersed in an incredible dream where he could not distinguish reality. Then he blindfolded his eyes when looking at Sissa and Tiffany, walked out of the castle and sat on the steps outside the castle, sighing. How could there be such a stupid woman in the world? She was born with a height that no one else can reach in their lifetime, but she is ***T. Chapter 205 World Conference, Akainu's statement. The next day, Shalulia woke up from the castle hall after being trapped by Tyr's power. She glanced at the dirty environment around her and her naked body, and her face suddenly turned red. Where's the human? Hey, I'm your puppy. She looked out the window. In the garden where birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant, Tyr was strolling around holding a baby with a goat's milk bottle in his mouth. When Tyr heard the word, puppy, outside the castle, he slapped his forehead hard on the spot. It was really a big sin back then. Shalulia hurriedly ran out of the castle and stood outside the big castle before she could get dressed. Seeing this, Tyr quickly covered Chisha and Tiffany's eyes. Last night, is it true? I was almost beaten by you. Shalulia, go put on your clothes. I have something to talk to you about. Suddenly realizing that he was so unbecoming, Shalulia Palace suddenly became arrogant, shook his neck and walked into the castle for several minutes. Put on an expensive dress and come out. Ahem. She pretended to be innocent and put on her arrogant and conceited look again. What do you want me to do? You are a pariah. Seeing Shalulia changing her face faster than flipping through a book, Tyr couldn't help but smile. This kind of woman is so fun, she is like a role-playing ceiling. I need you to help me gather all the celestial dragons in one place, even in your big garden. Teal wants to let the world government know that this world conference is not that simple, and that they will never forget this historic moment. Why? What do you want to do? I want you to. Tyr walked up to Shalulia and began to flatter her. Become the most powerful person in the celestial dragon family. The highest. Shalulia was so shocked that her expression turned pale. The person in power? She might not believe such words coming from other people's mouths, but this came out of Tyr's mouth. The previous assassination of the Tianlong people has not been found out yet, which shows Tyr's ability. At that time, you will be the existence of one person below 10,000 people among the Tianlong people, Shalulia. In that case, Shalulia's words were trembling. Can I be with you every day? No. That's right. Tyr was speechless, not knowing how obsessed Shalulia was with him. Okay. After hearing Tyr's answer, she agreed without hesitation. I will immediately, but what reason should I use to get them together? The 5 elders just ordered us to close the doors of the Draco, not out. To become the queen of the celestial dragons, you must take risks. Shalulia's chin was pinched by Tyr again, and her breathing began to become rapid. Don't be like this. We just did it last night. I won't be able to stand it, you pariah. Advertisement. You will tell the world meeting 6 days later that it was the order of the 5 elders to gather them in this island castle. Okay, I promise, you, damn. What the hell is going on with this woman? Just touching her makes her so hot. Okay, future queen of the celestial dragons, you must endure firmly. I can't bear it if you touch me like this. I just touched your chin, silly woman. Seeing Shalulia's hungry look, Tyr let go of her. Then he took Chisha and Tiffany and left Shalulia's big castle without looking back. Fortunately, you two have become smaller now and don't understand anything. Tyr was very glad that even Tiffany had become smaller. Otherwise, it will be miserable. A few years ago she was a very strict and serious woman. After leaving the castle, Tel slowly took out a phone bug wearing a red suit and a flower on his chest from his trouser bag. In Pangu City. About the 2 babies that Tyr was carrying, word soon reached the 5 elders. With so many troops, what are they going to do? Sakaski's answer was also very perfunctory. What's going on? Even if it is to provide protection for the kings of the World Conference, there is no need to bring a force large enough to launch a large-scale war. The 5 elders felt very bad. The soft sofas in Pangu City made them very uncomfortable. We need to find out the situation, if that guy has a child. Saint Satan's words attracted everyone's attention. It seemed like each of them had thought of a way to punish Taylor. Additional. Apparently they thought Teal had made such a mistake. Respectively. Momoshagi, T-Dolphin. That is the Knights of the God with the highest fighting power in the world government today. The government just called me again and asked Tyr to withdraw its troops from the holy land of Mary Joa. I would give anything for you, Momoshagi. Advertisement. Hearing Gion calling his name, Cake felt like he was dreaming. Send the order. I always feel that this world conference will be very bad. Do you agree? Aokiji asked. You want to use CP0 to test his current strength? Jiaji was like a big fool at the moment, because his words were inexplicably taken 100 times more seriously. Momoshagi and we should have had a falling out before. Chado stared at Momoshagi with a look of disbelief. I didn't expect you to take the initiative to persuade me to come with you. Marine headquarters. Due to excessive excitement, I heard the words, I need you, as a pretext, and stood beside Gion with my head held high. It took the top 3 forces of world government, Marine headquarters, and the Roger pirates to destroy him. CP0? I'm afraid that Guy's CP0 level strength is no longer enough, right? The internal strife within Marine was laid down by the military court meeting where Tyr tried Garp. You just called my name? Jiaji looked dazed and a little unbelievable. Many Marines are still not relieved even today, 1 year later. Green Ox, Aokiji, and Kazaru, the 3 most powerful Marines are all gathered together. He and Momoshagi were both candidates for generalship, but due to their combat capabilities, they were forcibly summoned by Akainu. Once an extremely powerful man has a soft girl, he will be a fatal threat. But now, 5 elders will now use the organization that participated in that war. Peter, what do you mean? GL and Sheng's age, I'm afraid. The Battle of the Valley of the Gods is the battle for the fall of rocks, the Great Poseidon. Kaji, who has a good relationship with Garp, still remains a neutral faction. Don't question him. Don't you still know about that man's performance in the Valley of Gods? In his eyes, he showed his majestic appearance as a man, and in the eyes of others. They also included 2 lieutenant generals. Come on, stop taking it seriously, you're disgusting me. Akainu slapped the table and yelled angrily. In Akainu's office. The 5 elders were stunned, and the only thing they could think of was an organization that had the power to test Tyr's strength. During the time when the 5 elders were discussing the war against Tyr, the new Malinvondo was located under the Red Continent. We need you, Gia. Chapter 206 World Conference, Destruction of the Knights of God. How could he agree? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to overthrow the world government. The time was a bit rushed, but the execution of his and Teal's plan at the World Conference was the best moment. How can I agree? I have come to you this time to completely eliminate the greatest evil in the world. The 5 people except Akainu have round eyes, and after a while they will no longer have lazy, playful, or even indifferent expressions. Everyone instantly became extremely solemn, as if they all knew what Sakaski and Teal were going to do. Akainu crushed the cigar in his hand, lit up his fist with scarlet lava and placed it in front of him. Take advantage of this big incident in Tyr to completely change the world ruled by the celestial dragons. The Marine headquarters will only dispatch the highest combat power to the holy land of Maranjoa to support Tyr's operation. This plan was supposed to be planned by Akainu, but he did not expect that Tyr would take the lead in launching this raid. 6 days later. Sunset. The Great Round Table of the World Conference in Holy Land Marijoya. The 5 elders sit opposite the 175 franchise kings. From morning to sunset, we discussed the future world development policy, assisted the government in maintaining the order of the sea, and a series of things related to the progress of the world. The four emperors were all wiped out by the Marines. If we deal with the ordinary pirates, we won't need such a huge military expenditure, right? Neptune, the king of the fishmen, said. As a fishman, the bailies they turned over were twice that of ordinary countries. Having endured discrimination and prejudice for many years, he wanted to strive for a better living environment for his people. As for the tax issue, we will give you a full explanation. The god of finance spoke to the kings. The kings of each of the participating countries mentioned their own thoughts and opinions at the meeting, and the most common one was that the gold in the sky increased instead of falling. I say this every 4 years, but every time I get no solution. King Alabasta, Cobra glanced at everyone. It's like he is fighting injustice against every country present. What on earth is such a huge amount of gold in the sky used for? Let 175 countries support a marine organization that threatens them all? The marine military expenditure is indeed huge, but we seem to have cultivated a force that has a deterrent effect on us. That's right, why do we have to look at Marine's face in everything we do? The existence of Marine is to prevent wars from breaking out among the participating countries, and there are also benefits. Advertisement. Unfortunately, the pirate arrogance of today's participating countries has been greatly reduced, the four emperors' forces have also been eradicated, and the kings have ambitions to expand. Starting with Neptune's precedent, there are even constant refutations of the five elders' words. Then you can choose not to be friends with each other. Topman Wocholishung, the legal warrior god and five elders, suddenly said these words seriously to everyone. Let all the kings present who want to seek a better living environment for their country be silent. That kind of outcome is just breaking away from the world government membership. The prerequisite is that you must have enough national power to protect your country. Is this a threat? No, we are not threatening everyone here, we just want you to cooperate with the government to continue development and make the world a better place in the future. The kings bowed their heads and remained silent in their seats. They had no dignity at all here. He can only protect his country by satisfying the world government's proposals and government interests at all costs. Faced with such hostile words, no one dares to offend the power of the world government. They know what to expect. Seeing the sudden silence at the conference table, five elders continued. If there are no comments, it's time for us to move on to the next major topic. They wanted to use the deterrence of this meeting to impose sanctions on Tyr for massacring millions of citizens in Wano. Just like what was promised in the newspaper, the massacre of millions of innocent citizens in Tyr will be handed over to the people of the world for trial. Regarding the matter of Wano country, how did the people of your country vote? Majority in favor. Majority in favor. The kings responded to the five elders' questions one after another, and then took out a thick book and placed it in front of the table, waiting for the guards to come and collect it. It's all about the voting of the alliance countries on Tyl's massacre of millions of people in Wano, and whether it is necessary to sanction Tyr in order to calm down the panic of the world's civilians. Do we really need such a cruel Marine general? General Marine really needs to kill people like this to complete his mission? The lives of millions of citizens are undoubtedly an astronomical figure for any civilian who wants to live peacefully. On average, a murderer will kill about 400 people in his lifetime in this world. Advertisement Tyr killed millions of people by himself, and he was just a child who had just turned 20 years old. After a 10-minute inspection by CP intelligence officials, 100% of the 175 countries agreed to sanction Tyl. Haha. This result made the five elders very satisfied, as if they were no longer afraid of what Tyr had to say. This is equivalent to the decision of civilians around the world, not their arbitrary sanctions. Just when they were about to announce sanctions against Tyl, 7 uninvited guests came outside the Pangu City Conference Hall. No, 5 elders. 5 elders. The 5 elders frowned, hearing familiar words again at this critical moment. What happened again? Didn't you see there was a meeting? The kings of the participating countries were all shocked and couldn't believe that someone dared to break in. No one knew that on a beam at the top of the Pangu City Conference Hall, Tyr's figure was sitting quietly on it, listening to their words with a smile the whole time. He also held the corpse of an old red-haired man covered in coagulated blood. It is the body of Saint Garin, the supreme commander of the Knights of God. What shocked Tyr was that Chisha and Tiffany, who were only half a year old, held the goat milk bottles in their hands without making any sound. The signal soldiers rushed into the conference hall in a hurry. He looked serious and anxious, and his eyes flashed with urgent information. The uniform of the government signal soldier was soaked with sweat, and his steps were firm and fast. He walked straight to the commander, saluted and reported quickly. I had to break in, 5 elders. The rest of the Knights of God were all defeated by Marine Fleet Admiral Sakaski, personally led by Aokiji, Green Bull, Kazaru and others. What? Marine? The news of this explosion reached everyone's ears, and everyone couldn't sit still. What's going on? Marine is attacking us and the celestial dragons. Do they know what this means? All the 5 elders stood up. Facing this sudden emergency, the tight string in their hearts was completely broken, and they immediately realized that something was wrong. Wow! A baby-like cry suddenly came from the top of the hall, causing everyone including the 5 elders and 175 kings to look up in surprise. No, we were still discovered. Tyr gently flicked Tiffany's serious forehead. Why have you become smaller, and why are you still so harsh? Chapter 207 World Conference. Lord Tiffany, who was hurt by the bullet, did not cry, but stared at it with an angry face, then hugged the bottle and started sucking it hard. Being stared at so angrily by the baby like Tiffany made Tyr feel a chill down his back. Compared to Chisha, she is the more fierce-tempered type, while Chisha is a very gentle and practical woman. He, I can't wait to see you again when you grow up. Tyr suddenly felt a little crazy. He recalled all the good things with them. Fortunately, Tyr now has an immortal lifespan. Otherwise, when they are raised, they may have to call them daddy. Immediately, Tyr held the body of Saint Garin and jumped down onto the huge conference table. Who are you? Tyr, what on earth are you doing? That is. The moment the 5 elders saw Saint Gielen, their horrified expressions immediately appeared. What am I doing? The corners of Taylor's mouth were greatly drawn, and he opened his hands to face them. I'm doing what you want to happen, slandering me again and again, and tricking me again and again. I really don't know why I wanted to be loyal to you wholeheartedly before, but now I understand that the source of evil in the world is you scumbags. You killed Saint Gielen. Are you planning to stage a coup at the World Conference? Haha, what else? I tried my best to eliminate so many threats for you, but you 5 old men, together with the world's member countries, want to sanction me? What qualifications do you have? Boom. A huge meteorite fell from the sky and hit the Holy Land near the city of Marijoya Pangu. The intense heat wave and the terrifying earthquake that shook their hearts completely made the 5 elders see Marine's hostility towards war with the world government. Big fire breathing. The fist of hell bit into the door of the huge conference hall. Akainu was wearing a white suit, with his hands folded on his chest and a cigar in his mouth blocking the only escape route. He looked at the 5 elders and said, I've put up with you for a long time, 5 elders. Hell's lava dripped from Akainu's palms to the floor, making the hearts of the world's franchise kings jump. The lava seemed to be dripping on their hearts, and everyone looked at Akainu with a mask of horror. Akainu, what are you going to do? How come you? I've had enough, you so-called people in power, it's time to settle the final matters with you. Advertisement, don't put meteorites around, you bastards, my flowers and trees can't grow in the flames. Marine General Green Bull outside scolded Fujidora. Immediately release a large amount of your own abilities. Boom. The violent turmoil that followed was a series of extremely terrifying huge vine walls, sealing the entire Pangu city inside. Ice Age. Immediately afterwards, Aokiji's distant shout came. The deep blue ice completely blocked the back of Pangu City, a tower with a long history. Above the tower, in front of the garden-level window, there is a human-shaped black figure staring at everything that is happening in Holy Land Marijo. Aokiji fell to the top of the tower, and a terrible cold air continued to emit from his mouth. The government never thought that we Marine would appear in this way in the Holy Land of Marijoya. Aokiji looked at the surrounding space, as if some kind of turbulent ripples had appeared, and countless transparent sword shadows were condensing and forming in the air. It's like nothingness, but also like an entity emitting the harsh sound of swords. Under this terrifying team that can make the world tremble, even the 5 elders have to show fear at this moment. In fear, they immediately saw Gion Momosagi and Cake walking into the World Conference Hall side by side. Behind them dragged a series of tragic defeats of the Knights of God, with coagulated blood on their faces. They threw the corpses of 11 Knights of God into the hall, causing the 5 elders to retreat in fright. Fight the pirates, destroy the 4 emperors, and get rid of the D-clan that you fear. The wail of the black knife slowly emerged in Tyr's hand, and he walked towards the 5 elders at the World Conference round table. The important thing is that you almost killed me by sending CP0 during the battle with Wano country. Seeing Tyr pressing forward step by step with a knife, the 5 elders were sweating coldly, and the entire Holy Land Marijoya fell in an instant in front of several marine generals. Now, Akainu stood like a towering magma demon, exuding scorching heat, standing at the door of the conference hall. Even the kings of the 175 participating countries have become lambs to be slaughtered. What on earth is going on? Why is Marine the enemy of the world government? Faced with the sudden coup, the kings began to panic. Everyone started asking what happened. The Pangu city tower was frozen by that guy Kuzan. Saint Satan was sweating profusely. Advertisement. He took out the phone from his pocket, as if he wanted to contact someone, but found that no one answered the phone he dialed. Don't bother, Defense Marshal God, all troops, commanders and cadres in the Holy Land are under control. Teal, we have no choice but to deal with Wano country. If the 4 emperors' power collapses, the world will enter a new cycle of war. So, this is why you asked people to come out to harm me when I was having a fierce battle with Red Hair and Rayleigh? Tyr stood on the table in front of the 5 elders with his sword in hand, his sword eyes making their hearts tingle. Sakaski. What on earth do Marine want? Zambaran V. Nasushiro asked angrily to Akainu, who was standing at the door of the meeting. It's just about bringing true justice to the world. Akainu replied. You guys who act wantonly and control other people's destiny at will, it's time to step back from a position of such huge power. 5 red swords mixed with Tyr's Conqueror's domineering aura rushed from the huge sword domain space outside Pangu City, through the roof and into the Pangu City conference hall. Landing firmly behind 5 elders. Don't say so many useless things. Tyr released his terrifying pressure and formally released his hostility towards them, saying coldly, "Now either you resign in front of 175 kings, or I stab your throat with a knife, and then evolve this world that you have distorted in your own way." As soon as he finished speaking, the extreme ice in the tower outside Pangu City was suddenly broken by a dark aura. Broken ice suddenly filled the sky, and a huge black shadow quickly moved towards the conference hall, gradually covering the room where Tyr was. Lord I Am is angry. No, all abilities are useless in front of him. Outside Pangu City, Aokiji looked in disbelief as he watched his dark blue ice being easily broken. "What is that huge black monster?" Aokiji said with a solemn expression. A red sword tearing apart the space fell from the air and struck the huge black shadow instantly. The moment the red sword was about to touch him, the Conqueror's haki on the sword collided with the Conqueror's haki of the true ruler of the world government. Just in an instant, the red sword was shattered into pieces. "Lord I Am, please leave it to us." Bang! The conference round table shattered, and before the 5 elders could finish speaking, Tyr jumped towards the window with a knife. Kill you. Chapter 208 World Conference, One Sword of Heaven and Earth. The 5 elders, who were just about to intercept Tyr, felt the hot red magma energy emitting from behind, filled with a suffocating sense of oppression. Looking back, they saw that a Kainu seemed to be erupting on the spot, and the surrounding magma had begun to spread. A Kainu, we are a member country, don't release that terrible ability. Damn it. Where are the guards? Why can't we contact the soldiers we brought? At the moment when the kings contacted the escort troops they had brought, a rioting scarlet storm descended on the top of the conference hall. Immediately, the entire hall was filled with the shouts and screams of the kings, and some kings fainted on the spot under the terrifying red and black thunder. Akainu saw Tyr colliding with the giant black shadow conquerors and immediately ordered. Additional. These kings cannot die, please. I have never seen such a strong collision between conquerors. Who is that black shadow? Guillaume leaned down and blocked his wrists in front of him to resist the collision of power between Tyr and Im in front of him. The horror of the impact caused the entire Pangu City and surrounding areas to burst apart. My main target is you. Tyr felt conquerors, who was more powerful than Shanks, smile crazily, and the scarlet domineering energy from his body surged out like a violent galaxy. Illuminating the surrounding space shrouded in black shadow, it was instantly suppressed by Tyr's furious slashing attack, leaving only Conqueror's collision duel. Those huge eyes looked at the 2 babies drinking milk behind Tyr and were startled. In this true collision of king-level combat power, who would have expected that Tyr could still fight with the baby with ease? Suddenly, several thorns split out of the black shadow and stabbed the baby behind Tyr. Sissa and Tiffany, floating in the air, stared directly at the black shadow, as if nothing could stop them from eating while holding the bottles in their hands. What you up to? Just at this moment, like a cold voice in a cold hell, it entered Im's ears and echoed. As soon as the words fell, Im's entire body was penetrated by half of the body with a sword that cut through the sky and the earth, and the huge dark body was penetrated instantly. The domineering lightning intertwined with the magnificent momentum instantly shattered Pangu Castle. The slash bloomed like a starlight, seeping into Im's bone marrow, causing Im extremely painful. Vomit, the black shadow spat out a large amount of blood under the power of Tyr that increased more than 100 times in an instant. The sword energy penetrated the black shadow's body, penetrated the clouds, penetrated the heaven and earth, and took away all the tranquility. It cut through the air without any hesitation, bursting out with an astonishing roar. Advertisement only Tyr's extremely indifferent smile was left, looking down at Im's human body, and instantly knelt down in front of him to relieve the pain of the injury. When it struck down, the world was shaken, and a huge shockwave spread around like a tsunami. The land cracked, the red earth continent collapsed, and countless gravel and dust flew everywhere under the residual power of the sword energy. The terrifying destructive power of the sword energy quickly spread in the holy land of Marijoya. All the wind and clouds seemed to be frozen by this slash. The thunder and lightning in the sky also stopped, as if staring at this spectacular scene. 175 kings were tightly wrapped in solid soil. The T-Pig stared at the sky with no ceiling in shock. What kind of power did that guy gain in Wano country? Still, Aokiji outside the house stared at the scarlet sword energy above the dome. Fortunately, I didn't fire that monster boy. After a while, the sword energy finally dissipated. Everything in front of me was shattered. The surrounding area was in ruins, as if it had experienced a catastrophe. That guy's power. The trembling voices of the 5 elders could not suppress the shock in their hearts at this moment. How powerful. The king knelt down. A sword from heaven and earth breaks the tranquility of the sacred land, signaling Marine's declaration of war against the world government. This may not be the final battle, but it is definitely the most important battle for Tyr to change the world. He looked coldly at his eyes with bloodshot eyes, kneeling on the ground and staring at himself. King? What kind of king are you? A western sword instantly appeared in Im's right hand, and his bloodshot eyes suddenly solidified. I am unwilling to do so and swung his sword towards Tyr. Teal. Seeing I am injured, the 5 elders could no longer control the anger in their hearts. When Yim attacked again, they all attacked Tyr. Akainu, Kizaru, Fujitora, Green Bull, Aokiji, several of the most powerful marine combat forces also immediately took action. He immediately stood in front of the 5 elders. You should think about it. If we attack here with all our strength, what kind of destruction will be caused to Holy Land Mariayo and these kings? Akainu, who intercepted the agricultural martial god St. Peter, said to him. Sir, although I don't care about anything in the world, this action is for a new peaceful future. Advertisement Kizaru, who was standing in front of the scientific defense god of war, Saint Satan, still said to him with a lazy expression. The financial martial god, the environmental martial god, and the legal martial god who controlled the world were stopped by the other 3. Although Fujitora is not a general, his power has already been recognized by Akainu, and he can be directly improved at any time. The highest powers in the world. Fujitora drew out the blade of his staff and warned the 5 elders. You'd better not anger the sword god anymore, otherwise, he has enough power to collapse this continent. Isn't that the end of the celestial dragons? Green Bull said. What are you thinking, Akainu? Why do you support that kid to eliminate the government? It's not about annihilation, it's about passing judgment on your irresponsible and just politics. Akainu, who had become completely elemental, directly interrupted the 5 elders. Trees, ice, magma, flash, gravity, all kinds of terrifying forces are ready to explode at any time, and the 5 elders dare not take another step forward. They could only watch the sword moves coming out like a storm outside the castle. What are you referring to? Legal martial god asked with a trace of confusion on his serious expression. For so many years, for the sake of strong combat power, profit, and cover-up, you have deceived the world. Akainu began talking to the 5 elders, recounting their crimes over the years. Outside the castle, the extremely terrifying roar of the collision of blade tips exploded on the edges of Tyr and Im's weapons. Every confrontation was accompanied by the sound of metal clashing and domineering energy fluctuations. In the final analysis, Tyr quickly waved the black knife and said to Im in front of him, Why were there so many pirates in the world that harmed the world before? It was all created by your world government. Tyr's domineering slash instantly tore Im's strange mask apart, and half of a woman's body was revealed from under the mask to Tyr. Woman? When he found that the mask had come off, Im used his arms to bounce off the tall knife, took a big step back and covered his face. Damn you kid. Im behind Arankar stared at Tyr with anger on his face. Ha 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 ha. Tyr also smiled funny and asked her jokingly. People in this world must know that a woman has been ruling the world for so many years. What will happen? Don't sympathize with me just because I'm a woman, or you may lose your life. Chapter 209 World Conference, Tyr vs. Im, Lost Your Life? After hearing these words from Im's mouth, Tyr began to attack her with a violent attack with a knife. The power was so great that every time Im blocked, a lot of cracks occurred on the red ground beneath his feet. At the same time, she also felt how terrifying Tyr's swordsmanship was under the domineering fusion fruit. I have worked hard for the government for so many years, and I have let you sit in the greenhouse and play around with your hands on the chessboard. The blooming conquerors spread from Tyr's body, and were protected by the powerful sword energy from any blow or deterrence. On the other hand, Im's expression was extremely ugly. He had already reached the limit due to blocking Tyr's black knife attack and ligating his arms to the limit. In the final analysis, Tyr continued to attack the exhausted Im, tilting his face toward him with resentment. This world is just about strength first, Taylor shouted loudly. A heavy slash hit the Yim sword accurately, causing her whole body to kneel on one knee on the cracked ground again, carrying Tyr's sword. Ah! The sound of body bones cracking echoed in Tyr's ears, and he showed no pity for the beautiful woman in front of him. It's such a nice moan. Taylor mocked her with a smile of contempt and disdain. I haven't tried my best yet. In the 800 years since Im ruled the world government, has he ever suffered such humiliation? However, Tyr's power was simply not something that his physical skills and swordsmanship could match. The 5 elders did not dare to accept the challenge, so they could only have their hands cuffed by Marine General with sea tower stones and watch the battle quietly from the side. Gion Momoshagi saw tail crushing Im with one hand under the black sword and said, A guy with that domineering attitude will definitely not be an ordinary person. The senior officials have all speculated about world government. Akainu glanced at the 5 elders with his serious eyes and said, Beyond you old men, there is something even more terrifying. Does it seem to be that woman? Almost no one knows about Im's existence in this world. The five elders simply ignored the sea, and now they are only responsible for collecting gold from the sky and squeezing the common people of the world. How is it possible to rule the world for so many years? This domineering force makes even the elemental body tremble. Don't you pretend to die, Perusalino. Listening to Kizaru's trembling words, Green Bull scolded him on the spot. I'm really scared. Among the 6 marine generals and one of the 3 in the upper level, Green Bull really couldn't listen to his low-key words. But there was nothing he could do against Kizaru. They were all comrades, so they just bickered and passed away. Civilians, the military, including the celestial dragons, are all under control. Aokiji also had the same serious expression as Akainu, carefully observing the battle in front of him, and said, "Have you figured out how to take over the politics of world government? What to do with 175 kings, Sakaski?" Advertisement, I won't worry about it now, Kuzan. Something's wrong. While everyone was watching the battle and chatting, Fujitora, who was intently observing the auras of Tyr and IM, suddenly brought them back to reality. What's the matter? A smile? Green Bull asked him. The power in that woman's body is gushing out. Tyr, who was suppressing IM with a knife, also discovered the heresy. He frowned and immediately sensed something was wrong. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The picture that suddenly appeared in his mind made Tyr feel strange and shocked like never before. Awakening by seeing and hearing? Predicting the future? Boom. When he saw Tyr coming back, he threw IM away from him with a knife, and kept a distance of about 50 meters from her to keep an eye on her. A devil fruit similar to the dark fruit? Tail smiled at her. It was discovered that the black silver in Im's body was gushing out in large quantities, compressing and expanding around her body. Together with the seemingly extraordinary western sword in his hand, it also turned into a long sword wrapped in thick black mist. Seeing the flames in Im's eyes flickering, her face could not be seen again. I have met a guy like you before, with a black cloak, a light body, a dark aura, and a sickle in his hand, and he was killed by me. IM didn't respond to Tyr. She just wanted to get rid of Tyr as a hidden danger to the world government. Unexpectedly, the 5 elders allowed Marine to grow up with such terrifying strength. The threat to world government has reached unprecedented levels. Tyr did not act rashly. He recalled that when he fought with Blackbeard 2 years ago, being caught by a user with the dark fruit ability would cause the user to lose his ability. The body also changes back to an ordinary person. But Im's body is full of black shadows that can make Tyr lose his ability. In this world, I am a god. Then the gods are too weak, right? Tyr responded to her immediately, instantly angering Im. If a god is so weak, he will be pulled off the altar. You might as well let me take your place. And this sentence also completely angered Im, who was nearly 1,000 years old and was insulted by Tyr, a guy who was only 20 years old. At the moment when Im thought his speed was too fast for Tyr to react, he ignited the domineering energy in his body and made the black knife scream, and the blade instantly appeared in front of his weapon. Hateful, the slash that Im swung out instantly turned into a sword blade in the air and flew back at Im, making her face shocked and at the same time caught off guard. Advertisement, she was actually injured by a mortal with such primitive thoughts. The newly awakened Haki noticed Im rushing towards him with a knife. Seeing the transformed Im in front of him, Tai immediately understood Im's ability. Don't growl like a B****ch. Im was so angry that he accumulated strength on the spot and concentrated his sword energy to strike. It was unbelievable. Wow, then I'll show you the devil fruit and the pinnacle of Haki. She was slashed on the right shoulder by Tyr again, and her body flew into the air. She was shocked and said, "It's impossible. You should be a devil fruit user." The world in front of my vision seemed to slow down. I can block it with my precious little hands, believe it or not. Chisha, who was resurrected as a baby, seemed to understand Tyr's words and tried hard to speak. Im, who was so angry that he screamed, immediately slashed out with his sword in the air. Oh, slash? Are you sure? Tyr teased her, and then pinched Chisha's little hand with his index finger and thumb. Seeing a huge full moon black mist slashing towards him, Tyr, who was holding Chisha's baby hand, took aim and slashed, and said very gently, "Quick. Say something about decomposition, Chisha." He didn't react. Im was so shocked that his pupils shrank, and his body took off with Tyr's power. The black mist that wrapped around her body directly swallowed up the blade transformed from her ability, which has the same characteristics as the dark fruit. Young baby. Tyr covered his almost crazy smile, not wanting Tiffany and Chisha to see it. Would you like to experience it for yourself with your woman's body, to know whether I am a baby, or will you fall instantly? If you are hit by your own sword, you will lose your ability, right? How dare you speak such arrogant words as a young brat? The heavy knife collided with the black mist-filled blade in her hand. Tyr lowered a non-domineering sword from the air in his sword domain. Tyr saw her disappear from sight the next moment, and a knife wrapped in black mist appeared in the still time, and came to Tyr's face in an instant. Bang! Listening to the sound of Im's entire right shoulder bone cracking, Tyr raised the corners of his mouth with a look of contempt on her. Everyone was speechless when they heard Tyr's words, as if they didn't take seriously. In the end, my face turned red and I suppressed a cute cry. Impossible. She looked at the swift black mist sword blade, which was about to fall on her body. Go to hell. When did you get counterattacked by other devil fruit abilities? Over the years, she has been the only one who has made others lose their abilities, or defeated them with her abilities. Chapter 210 World Conference, You Will Be the Nurse. Im's slash was decomposed by Tyr's ability, and the unknown dark element inside turned into Tyr's attack. Nail Im's limbs into the ground of the red continent. In just a moment, all the black mist around her body slowly dissipated, and was backfired by her own abilities, causing the devil fruit abilities in her body to become ineffective. Ah! The half of her exposed face was ferocious, and she roared with an unwilling look on her face as she stared at Tyr as he approached. The pinnacle of domineering, the pinnacle of devil fruit power. Tail walked up to her holding the two babies in his left hand and holding a knife in his right hand. For at this moment, Tyr's confident smile caused her great psychological harm. It seems that the throne is stupid and the 5 elders did not report my abilities to you. Boy! Im's body burst out with domineering power, and he roared at Tyr in a rage. Seeing that she still wanted to activate her domineering resistance, Tyr suddenly fell down from the dome of the sword domain space with about 12 red swords. In a circle around each sword bears the conquerors of Tyr. I am going to kill you. You talk about killing me, but I can no longer feel my own life and death. Tyr grinned, and kept scraping the red sword blade around with the black knife in his hand. Looked up firmly and saw the ripples emanating from the sword coming towards her, and asked in horror. This is the conquerors. What are you going to do? You, ah. The sword-crying melody that penetrated seemed very soft outside the 12 red swords, but in the small sword field that Tail had arranged for her, it became a terrifying shock that shook her whole body. Fleet Admiral, you can bring the sea tower stone over here, Tyr said to Akainu while circling the red sword beside and constantly hitting the blade. King. Are you dreaming? When the 5 elders saw Im's complete defeat, the despair and shock on their expressions could not be concealed. Only was tortured by the sharp screams of Tyr's impacting sword. It seems that there is no need for us to take action. Sakaski signaled, and Gion Momosagi, who had no fruit ability, stepped forward. It's so easy, Sakaski. The eyes under the sunglasses looked at Tyr, not knowing how unimaginably powerful Tyr has become now. The physical shocks again and again caused to suffer unprecedented heavy injuries in 800 years. Seeing that her breathing was slow and her chest was rising and falling quickly and slowly, her king-like firm eyes were shattered. Tyr suddenly stopped walking around the small sword area and squatted down to look at her. Do you died? Advertisement? I'm going to kill. Kill. You. Looked at the 2 baby girls crawling back and forth on the sword field armbands, and felt unprecedented humiliation. But his body had already been damaged by Tyr's conqueror's sword, and he could no longer move. After ruling for 800 years, it's time to give in. Catch it, little Tyr. Gion held the sea tower stone and threw it at Tyr from a distance. After Tyr saw the Hailu stone, he avoided it at an extremely fast speed. The veins on his forehead burst instantly. He gritted his teeth and looked at Gion with a look of resentment. I am an ability user, idiot. Sorry, I forgot. Gion Momosagi smiled awkwardly, and came to Tyr in person to copy the stilt stone to Momosagi, what's the matter with you? Tyr suddenly stared at Gion Momosagi with dead eyes. Why did you suddenly become so stupid? The battle is fascinating to watch. Gion didn't know that in front of someone with Tyr's strength, she began to show a very respectful attitude even though she was older than Tyr. That's why I became stupid. What do you know about politics? What do you know about the world? This era is the most prosperous era in the past 800 years. Im's eyes were dull and he began to talk about the old times to Tyr. Due to the serious injuries, her consciousness was somewhat unclear at this time. The celestial dragons are the descendants of our 20 kings. If you want to destroy them, the world will lose control and new changes will begin soon. Tyr became confused and asked curiously. In other words, you are also one of the 20 kings? Haha, this is hilarious. In the end, the government was overthrown by a person who was not the one predicted. I was defeated in such a ridiculous manner. Marine will usher in a new era, and the last thing we need is people in power like you who don't care about anything. Staring at the shape of Im's red eyes, Tail was quickly reminded of a person. What are you going to do, little Taylor? Get out of the way, Momosagi. Taylor inserted the black knife into the ground and pushed Gion Momosagi away from Im. The palm of his right hand condensed an extremely terrifying amount of sword energy. Drink. Tyr yelled and slapped Im on the chest, letting the sword energy penetrate her whole body, causing her whole body to twitch until her noble clothes exploded in an instant. She is so beautiful, it would be a pity to kill her. Tal looked at Im's appearance and figure, and was shocked by her appearance. Advertisement. Upon hearing this, the delirious IM began to laugh. At the same time, she also felt that the powerful sword energy that Tyr had injected into her body was circulating throughout her body. Kill me. The king must not be insulted. 800 years ago, as a woman, you must have given birth to children. Tyr began to think with his chin in his hands, looking at Tiffany and Shisha beside him. Perhaps, they need to be allowed to drink human milk, as drinking goat milk alone is tasteless. Little Taylor, do you want to? I want to find a wet nurse. This guy is so strong that you can't shake him. The strength of his milk will definitely make us two babies stronger. Im's eyes suddenly widened. Listening to Tyr's ridiculous words, he raised his right hand with completely torn muscles and swung his sword towards Tyr's head. I'm going to kill you. Her furious expression didn't want to suffer such humiliation. I can't believe that from being the almighty king of the world, I am about to degenerate into a mere wet nurse for a little marine? Seeing Im's sudden roar, Tyr became even more excited and said, No, I feel like if they drink the milk of this old monster like you, they will not only become stronger, but they will also be more energetic every day. Such shame cannot happen even if you die. You will be a nanny and be enslaved by Lousy for the rest of your life to atone for your sins. After saying that, Tyr avoided Im's final counterattack with all his strength and kicked her on the head to knock her unconscious. Additional. After seeing Tell finished, Sakaski walked towards the original hall of the World Conference. What? Fleet Admiral. Jiaji took out his cigarette rod and started smoking disapprovingly. Use your ability to seal off this building and let some civilian soldiers come to take notes. This World Conference will be taken over by us Marine. Listening to what Taylor said to IM, Akainu felt that it was impossible to disclose Im's affairs. Because Tyr wants to kidnap and capture her, IM, the ruler above the five elders, does not exist in the world at all. No one knows, so Akainu had no intention of stopping Tyr. Wait. Tyr suddenly shouted, Bring 20 Tianlong families, Shishwai, I want all of them to be punished. That's right, I almost forgot about them, Huang Mu said, I haven't tasted Tianlong people yet, ha ha ha. Paluzalino, after the meeting, you take people to search for the government's technological weapons. Vegapunk has developed an incredible thing before, which seems to be the destructive technology called the Virgin's Flame. As you command, Sakaski. Chapter 211 World Conference, the Celestial Dragons are reduced to lambs. Considering that Kizaru had previously worked for the Science Force, it was most appropriate for him to go look for Vegapunk. Akainu came to the five elders and took the cigar out of his mouth with his hand. He was a little surprised that when the government was in such a crisis, this guy actually chose to compromise. Why not fight? Akainu asked, standing in front of them, always maintaining that solemn expression on his face. The building that was shattered by the domineering force, with the activation of Cha-Do Kaji's ability, a thick layer of soil slowly repaired the entire conference hall. However, it's not as gorgeous as before, it's all rubbish. The large round table was not damaged in any way. Fight? Financial Martial God Zambalong v Nasoro glanced at Sakaski. I don't know what happened to my weapon by that kid, how can I still fight? Besides, even that adult can't defeat him, how are we going to fight? The five elders were bound by the Sea Tower stone, and they all closed their eyes and waited for the next change. What I didn't expect is that Tyr is neither a member of the D family nor a pirate. This is different from the predictions made hundreds of years ago. The government should not collapse in this way. The words of the five elders also made Akainu think deeply, but he is not a superstitious person who believes in prophecies at all, and actual actions can reflect better results. Don't think that I will hand over the financial power of Marine easily. Without a suitable reason, I won't tell you anything even if you kill me. At the words of the financial god of war, Tell came over carrying Im's defeated and sleepy body. You don't need to worry about this, and you don't need to worry about it anymore. Tyr stood beside Sakaski, his eyes scanning the five elders and said, It seems like you haven't worried about anything in this era. The troops led by Lieutenant General he had already taken control of the world government's public relations personnel. The current appearance of the five elders is like falling from the gods that people look up to prisoners in an instant. Marine, who was least likely to rebel, underwent a sudden change. The celestial dragons have arrived. Let me go, you low-level humans, do you want to rebel? A soldier escorting the Tianlong people hurriedly ran to Tyr and saluted with a military salute. General, Shalulia of the Charles family said that she has a relationship with you, and we need to confirm it in person. All the arrogant celestial dragons were tied up with ropes and brought into the conference hall. Tisk. That woman. Tyr covered his face and had a headache. No. Sakaski looked askance at Tell and said, What relationship did you really have with a Draco woman? Tell. Forget the evil I did before, I'll go and see for myself. Advertisement Taylor walked out of the hall. You maggot-like Marines, what are you doing to us? A Draco who was escorted into the conference hall suddenly pointed at the Marine Fleet Admiral and the General standing side by side behind the five elders. What's going on, five elders, why are you wearing shackles on your hands? Shut up, Anjing, go in and stand still. The whip instantly hit the Tianlong who asked the question, causing his feet to beat violently in pain. You are still so unruly, you celestial dragons. Faced with the bold offense of the soldiers, the Tianlong people felt extremely angry, unaware that they had lost the protection of the government. World Noble will cease to exist. After walking out of the conference hall, Tyr came to the ruins outside. On the spot, he saw Shalulia slumped on the ground, being pulled aside by several soldiers to guard her. You traitor! How dare you bring us together and let Marine arrest us all? Whole traitor! I'll kick you to death. Where are the knights of God? Where are our guards? A celestial dragon who left the team without authorization jumped up in a similar spacesuit and kicked towards Shalulia. Boom! Suddenly, a gunshot silenced all the Tianlong people, looking at the scene where the flesh and blood of the legs were shot out. All the Tianlong people trembled, their eyes widened and they couldn't believe the scene in front of them. How dare Marine shoot at them? Who are gods? Ah, my legs. Stop messing around, your rule has ended. The soldiers have not yet fully adapted to the fear of the celestial dragon's rule, so they dare not kill them directly. It all happened so fast. I am your General Tyr's puppy, you can't take action against me. Stop. It was a mess and dilapidated. Where is the promised queen of the celestial dragons? That glorious huge castle has completely disappeared under some kind of force. The officer is not stupid either, seeing how protective Taylor is of Shalulia. Shalulia, who was paralyzed by the soldiers, saw Tyr coming with the two children, and immediately got up and ran towards Tyr. Advertisement, I'll give you 2 ways, Shalulia. Tyr wiped her tears and said, continue to be a celestial dragon, or give up this identity and follow me. They want to kill me. Kill me. Shalulia saw Tyr's indifferent expression, and the crying in her mouth immediately became silent. General. When a civilian soldier saw Tell appearing outside the conference hall in person, he ran towards him with documents in hand. Me. I want to follow you. I want to stay by your side and do whatever you want me to do, Tyr. What's going on, Tyr? Shalulia's face was full of despair. This treatment was different from Tyr's previous promise to her. Untie her shackles. How can a general recognize a woman like you? The soldier looked back and saw Tyr himself arriving in person. He looked panicked and wanted to explain. General, you won't really be with. For a moment, Tyr didn't know whether the woman in front of him was stupid, or Shalulia had become smarter under his influence. General Tyr, what are you? But, General, she is a celestial dragon, from the world government. Hey, Tell sternly stopped the soldier from picking up his gun and preparing to shoot. What a sin. Tyr covered his face and came to the officer escorting the Tianlong people. I immediately realized that I had treated the wrong person. How dare you hug the general's waist without permission, you be ******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* Tyr in a pleading tone, knowing in her heart that if she continued to be a dragon, she would be doomed. Sword God General, there are thousands of slaves of different races in the Celestial Dragon Grade prison. How should we deal with them? Since he was born, he has never seen Pangu City turn into such a ruin as it is today. Looking around, Marine treats the Celestial Dragons like slaves. Woo, they whip me with leather whips. Tyr, I'm so scared. Shalulia, who was untied, immediately confided to Tyr. Suddenly realizing that Marine didn't respect the Celestial Dragons, Shalulia was also confused and had to use the name of Tyr to make them stop abusing them. Telephone, yes. He immediately saluted Tel solemnly and ordered to unshackle Shalulia's hands and feet. She woke up instantly and looked at Tyr, feeling that the man in front of her must have done something to the government to cause the status of the Celestial Dragon to become like this in an instant. The moment the soldier hit Shalulia with the butt of his rifle, Taylor's voice floated into his mind. He hugged Tyr around the waist. We will make a decision after the meeting is over. Give up. Tianlong. People? Shalulia choked and suddenly looked at the surrounding Pangu City environment. Chapter 212 World Conference, Go Farming, Tianlong people. But what plan should we take now? The soldier asked Tel. You can go and investigate and plan first. The innocent people can be let go, and the not innocent people can stay. Are there only 19 Celestial Dragon families? Tyr kept counting the number of Celestial Dragon families and repeatedly confirmed that there were only 19. I understand, Mr. General. The Celestial Dragons own a large number of slaves, which is well known to the world. But not all of them were innocent. After the meeting, Teal planned to review it himself. After the battle, the babies beside Tyr also fell asleep quietly, and the dazzling fierce battle no longer disturbed them. I have failed you in this life, and I will never fail you in the second life again. Tall looked at them and smiled to himself, then returned to the conference room resolutely. Wait. Shalulia wanted to follow her, but her body flew up and disappeared into the horizon like an arrow piercing the clouds. She was sent to Visalia Sky Island by Tyr. In the Grand World Conference Room, the bright meeting turned into darkness, and hundreds of torches illuminated the large round table in the room. The addition will protect them from the dirt that is lifted from around their bodies. Hundreds of kings can see each other's faces through the torch. They sat on the gorgeous throne and stared at the embarrassed Tianlong people in great surprise, with their hands and feet shackled. Waiting for the fainted king to wake up, Akainu stared at them all with his hands on his chest and said, "Branu, how's the file arrangement going? Bring it up quickly. Why did Marine suddenly attack the government? Is the fighting outside just over?" "That's right," Teal said as he walked into the center of the conference room. "Why is there still a baby? What do you think of this meeting?" said a king who had just woken up from the shock of conquerors. He suddenly discovered that the 5 elders, who were not to be offended, were controlled by the general and Marine like hostages. "What's going on? Why did we faint just now?" Just when the king woke up from a partial coma, he didn't know what had happened. A man with green hair and a beard came in after sorting out a large number of documents. He was wearing a coat of justice with the rank of Major General, and several soldiers accompanied him carrying a huge screen. "The kings of the participating countries and the supreme rulers of the government have been eliminated by our Marine," he said, looking at Tyr, who was sitting in his seat with respect. "Advertisement, what? The government was wiped out. Where are all the troops?" Branu waved to the soldiers, and the bodies of all the knights of God were carried onto the large round table. This scene shocked all the Tianlong people. "Impossible. Shut up." Just as a Tianlong man was about to speak, Tyr's sword penetrated his brain. The condensed sword energy made a big hole in his forehead and between his eyebrows, and gradually turned into mist and disappeared in front of everyone. "You dare to kill Tianlong people? Why don't you dare?" Tyr looked at Akainu and said to him, "Chishui, interrogate the Tianlong people first, and then talk to the kings about the future." "No problem, the tyranny of the Draco is about to end," Sakaski responded to Tell. "Agree directly. The final stage of this meeting is to interrogate you, Marine," a king shouted to Tyr. "Indeed." Tyr did not refute, and responded to him calmly. "However, from the perspective of strength and position, no one can interrogate or judge me." As soon as this was said, no one in the military refuted it. 5 elders. What's going on? Why did things change dramatically when I fainted and woke up? Even that adult can't pose a threat to him, what else can we say? The 5 elders have become prisoners, and the legal affairs, agricultural affairs, technology, finance, and environmental affairs under their control have been fully occupied by Marine on the sea. Even the government's loyal dog, the CP Secret Intelligence Agency headquarters, was completely defeated by the soldiers brought by Tyr from Sword God Island. After learning about the situation in the Holy Land, all CP0 members rebelled and joined the Marine camp as surrenderers. "Hey, if Marine has something to say to the world, just hurry up." Hearing Nulanu's words, several generals, including Tell and Sakaski, all resonated. Is this family still considered the best among the celestial dragons? Tyr thought. It turned out that Hawkeye's innate swordsmanship was inherited from the family. Then, what kind of clan do you call yourself? How do you explain the fact that you have been doing whatever you want on the sea for hundreds of years, breaking into people's houses and committing adultery? A few more things. 70% of the food they grow will be handed over. They're not allowed to trade or rebel. Otherwise, Laozi will come and kill all of you personally. When Tyr saw him getting up, he motioned to the soldiers behind him to give me the Draco family manual. Okay. Branu began to take out the compiled documents and began to tell the kings and Marine about Tianlong's crimes over the years. All the surrounding Marines were shocked and looked at his smiling mouth. Faced with Branu's long interrogation, many Tianlong people did not feel that they had done anything wrong during the interrogation. Advertisement, I have a proposal. Tyr's words aroused almost all resistance from the celestial dragons, except for the Jorakor clan who accepted it calmly. Hearing this, a celestial dragon who couldn't bear to swallow his words stood up and said, "Isn't a mere Marine qualified to interrogate the god who created the world? Yuck. It tastes so bad. Although I'm not picky about food, this fat pig is too bad to eat." Soon, he discovered 4 very familiar words. The next moment, Tianlong was instantly sucked dry by the green bull's power and turned into a piece of human skin. "What, Tyr? Since they think they are not wrong, find a desert island for them to develop on their own and let them taste the pain of centuries of farming." "Shut up, Kuzan, you are wrong. No one stopped the green bull's behavior, and the guy who said it was a favor to our **** civilians did not deserve the sympathy of justice. The education engraved in their bones cannot make them understand how shameful their behavior is in just a few words. Neptune, the king of the fishmen, never expected that things would develop to this point. As a righteous ruler, you failed to abide by the responsibilities left by the 20 kings. They all promised to the world government to protect the personal safety of the celestial dragons at all costs." Green Bull stood beside Marine and roared, and a slender vine instantly rushed from his body towards the celestial dragon. "Isn't that going to starve us to death?" The Jorakor family, who had been silent throughout the whole process, finally spoke sensibly at this moment. "It's a crime worthy of death. There is also a group among the celestial dragons called the Jorakor family." "Sakaski, you just laughed, right?" Kuzan frowned and asked seriously. As soon as the words came out of their mouth, they were immediately retorted by Tyr. Then you have starved the common people to death. How do you know how difficult it is for farmers on the sea to work without letting you taste the suffering? Compared with other draconian families, the Jorkor family behaved very calmly and did not take the initiative to speak out. If you regard evil deeds as favors, then you really deserve to be punished now. Ah! Ruan's scream as the Tinlongren's body was penetrated touched the heartstrings of the kings. Branu shook his head and sighed. The nature is so bad, no wonder a large number of civilians 100 years ago were willing to be thieves rather than join the army. That's it. Akainu slightly raised the corners of his mouth after listening to Tyr's suggestion. That is the favor that we, as gods, bestow upon them. Are you kidding us? We, as gods, are asked to do things that only lower humans do? Chapter 213. Tyr resigned and became I am the nanny going crazy. The serious Sakaski suddenly smiled and looked at all the celestial dragons with a ruthless look on his face. From now on, you are no longer a world noble and do not have any power. Saying that, Sakaski looked at the 5 elders aside, with a ferocious expression on his face for some reason. Do you have any objections? Sakaski, a person with his hands and feet cuffed has no right to speak. But the king cannot be taken away by this guy. When the conversation changed, all the 5 elders looked at Tyr. If the king is defeated, he can only kill him, he cannot be humiliated. What? Taylor looked calm and joked. Would you like to thank her for performing the ageless surgery on you? The 5 elders have been able to remain immortal for hundreds of years entirely because of the surgeries performed on them by those with the ability to achieve immortality in the past generations, thereby gaining eternal life. Even if you were the most powerful people before, if you didn't resist. Tyr stepped onto the round table with a knife. His expression turned cold and he spoke sternly. You don't deserve any say. You can only accept all Marines' proposals, you know. Change the world government policy and let people within Marine take charge of the world's laws. After these things are determined, Tyr will fulfill his previous agreement and disappear on the sea for a long time. He also wanted to use time to heal the psychological trauma and cold-blooded unstable emotions caused by these years. Weak. Tyr suddenly inserted the black knife into the big round table, breathed a long sigh of relief, and said seriously, no. Tyr. Just when Tyr was about to say extremely extreme words in front of 175 kings, Akainu stopped him on the spot. The stopped Tyr looked at Akainu, took a deep breath, and laughed at himself helplessly. Maybe I am too young and not suitable to participate in this major meeting to discuss the future of the world. He pulled out the black knife and held the handle in his hand. The blade cut his palm open and blood flowed out onto the round table, but Tyr couldn't feel any pain or blood loss. I don't know when, Tyr went from fighting for the weak at first to despising the weak now. He also knew very well that these words could not be said in front of the world's participating countries. The world needs to continue to function, evolve, and develop. In peacetime, there is no need for people like him who rely on force to solve all troubles. Little Tyr. Guillaume stretched out his hand to grab Tyr, but was stopped by Akainu on the side. Let him be. What are you doing? It's obviously him who cleared this sea. Tyr carried Im's unconscious body, took Shisha and Tiffany and left the meeting with a sad look on their faces. The light reflected Tyr's lonely back, making everyone in Marine feel chilled. He suddenly stopped and looked back at everyone. My mission is completed, let me give up the position of this general to others. Advertisement. Your Majesty the Sword God. A smile is appropriate. Taylor pointed at Fujitora and smiled. Does this count as resigning to me? Akainu asked without turning his head, sitting at the round table and smoking his cigar. As a true iron-blooded soldier, he showed no emotion on his expression, but in his heart he was thinking about everything Tyr had done. From the boy who first appeared like a monkey when he went to Elbath to stop the red-haired man, he has now become a guy whose heart is hard to see through. That's right, all the military power of Sword God Island has been handed over to you. He walked out of the World Conference Hall resolutely and stood in the holy land of Marie Joa looking at the stars in the sky. In the final analysis, I am just an ordinary guy pursuing freedom. I was driven by experience to do all this. Tyr knew very well that no matter how many pirates he killed, he could not purify the world. Wherever there are people, there will always be disputes and elimination. Those who are eliminated and survive will hate the person who eliminated them and join the evil camp. Hey, yes, you two little guys are with me, otherwise I will try my best to destroy this world. The childish voice of Milk rang in Ty's ears under the starry night sky. Ever since Tyr ate the devil fruit, he found that everything around him was the most realistic experience. All imaginary powers and such did not exist around him at all, as if they had been broken and controlled by his power. When the time comes, Tyr looked at his transparent hands and used the inexhaustible sword energy to penetrate his whole body. Go and ask Vegapunk. The currently known pirate supernovas include Trafalgar Law, Gangster Capone Becky, and Big Eater Bonnie. Under the threat of Tyr's strength, Shichibukai did not dare to cause any trouble. Taking out the phone to contact Akainu from his pocket, Tyr handed it to the guard outside the conference hall. "General, are you?" The soldier was a little confused. "I'm going to travel the sea, and give this thing back to Chishui." Putting aside all responsibilities, Tyr's sword left the holy land of Mary Joa. A few days later, Sabodi Islands, a bar in a lawless place. Is this true? The general known as the Sword God has actually resigned from Marine? When he was only 20 years old, he said that I am the only one in heaven and on earth. Has the government been brought down by him now? Advertisement, it's not a collapse, it's a huge coup. In the kitchen behind the bar, an octopus man was frying food with 6 arms, listening to the words of the guests. A mermaid wearing a bubble ring around her waist kept serving food to the guests. The new policy is really good, there are beautiful fishmen serving as waiters to deliver food. Based on Teal's various actions, Sakaski added a new policy for negotiating future policies with the world's franchised countries. That is peaceful coexistence between races. Zauba, come on. Next to the bar, a smoking black-haired woman said in a lazy tone, holding a newspaper and reading all the reports about Teal. This policy of coexistence between humans and fishmen just allows me to give the bar to you and Kemi as a wedding gift. Sha-Chi, what are you talking about? I. Kemi, the kissing murloc with green hair, was so shy that she fainted when she heard Sha-Chi's teasing words. If Lao Lei hadn't protected Roger's will, Sha-Chi looked at the contents of the newspaper and said, he wouldn't have died. The sea area near Deck's village on the Grand Line. On the sparkling sea deck of a small boat, Teal was wearing colorful shorts and sunglasses while lying under an umbrella. "Ah, I will definitely kill you." In the small boathouse, I.M. let out a heart-rending roar, put on his shirt, and walked out with sea tower stone shackles on his body, holding Chisha and Tiffany in his arms. "I want." She looked at the leisurely-looking Tyr with a messy, almost crazy look. "You unlock your ability for me, and I will definitely kill you." "Yes." Tyr responded to her calmly. "Breastfeeding, thank you for your hard work." After returning Chisha and Tiffany to Tyr, I.M. clenched his hands and screamed at the sea. The sharp roar almost made her throat hoarse. "Is there such a big shame? Why don't you just breastfeed? There's nothing wrong with you." Taylor took off his sunglasses and glanced at the crazy I.M. Her acupoints, domineering energy, and meridians were sealed by Tyr, and her ability to disable the devil fruit was restricted by the sea tower stone, which made I.M., who was the king of the world a few days ago, almost crazy. Just like an ordinary woman, she could not adapt to the life of slavery. "I am hungry, please bring me food quickly." "No, I have to torture you to the extreme, and I have to make you completely surrender to satisfy you." Chapter 214 Return to the village. Since being captured, I.M. has not drank a drop of water or eaten a mouthful of food and has long been unable to bear it. Without the blessing of devil fruit power, and the powerful domineering power sealed by Tyr, she simply couldn't hold on any longer. His legs went weak, and his vision went dark before he collapsed on the floor outside the cabin. "Without eating, just breastfeeding, it seems like you can't stand it." "My sword." I.M.'s eyes were blurred, and he looked at Tyr's black sword with difficulty and stretched out his palm to hold it. Feeling the familiar aura on Tyr's knife, she mistakenly thought it was her weapon. Little did they know, her sword had been integrated into the black sword by Tyr. Going to so many places. Tyr stood up, stepped on the bow of the boat and looked at the village he was about to arrive at. "My hometown is the most nostalgic." Tyr, who had already taken off his coat of justice, stared at the familiar village dock in the distance, stroked the little heads of Sisha and Tiffany and said, "We are going to live here for a while." The two immediately responded to him with neon baby sounds. There are still milk stains on the mouth. After drinking I.M.'s milk, they all became particularly energetic. "Kill you, I will definitely kill you." I.M., who had no choice but to hear Tyr say such words. His face turned red with anger on the spot. However, Tyr looked back at her. "I.M., I will not pursue your past. The beauty of your level will always be bound by my side." Her youthful silhouette, figure, and looks are all top-notch in the world. It is hard to believe that this kind of man is actually the king of the world who controls the world. In the end, there is no difference between you and those kings. He was already weak from hunger. I am unable to muster the strength to say, he's just a lustful person. Ha 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 ha. He suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed, which startled I am. Yes, even a woman like you who has given birth to a child still has your charm, is still desired by men. In this kind of world, as long as the pirates don't disrupt the sea, I can imprison you forever. Enjoy the food to yourself. This crazy speech made I am a little scared and got up. She swallowed through her dry throat. What a vulgar fetish. Vulgar? This is called pursuing a noble quality life. I have been tired for so many years, and it is time to get rewarded? Tyr came to I am and pinched her face. You won't grow old anyway, right? Advertisement. I am was disdainful, pretending to blush and said, if you give me a bite of food now, I may be able to satisfy your vulgar addiction. No. Seeing I am suddenly surrendering, Tyr noticed something was wrong at a glance. How can there be a guy who wants to kill you 1 second and will satisfy your demands the next? He loosened his fingers, threw her face on the deck and began to reef the sails and approach the shore. You just want to seduce me into cheating for food. Haha, that's a good idea. When you are so hungry that your heart is pressed against your back, let me see you put aside your noble self-esteem and look at me with a pleading look on your face, haha. You. Damn. I was so angry that he couldn't even breathe, and he fainted from the anger. The boat slowly docked at the shore. Carrying Im's unconscious body and a large bag of luggage, Tyr boarded the dock. Lousy. Come back. Stop. Who are you? People from outer islands need registration information. As soon as he landed, Tell was stopped by a marine soldier, who looked at Tell's back and the woman he was holding in his hand. The soldiers felt very suspicious. My face. Taylor looked back at him. Isn't it enough to serve as a pass? Sword. Sword. The moment he found out it was Tell, the soldier was so nervous that he stuttered. Shish. Tyr put his index finger in front of his lips to signal him to shut up. To avoid causing unnecessary trouble. Yes. The soldier held his head high and turned his face to the sky to give a military salute to Tell. Looking at Tell walking towards the village, the soldier was sweating profusely. General, I saw a legend. Teal left that meeting unaware of his current reputation within Marine. Just mentioning it can make one's scalp numb and make one's breathing short. Avoiding the crowd, Tyr walked along the path into the forest. Arriving at a moss-covered grave, Tyr began to worship. Karina, I'm back. Let go. Who had just woken up, immediately shouted. Let me go, when he was conscious enough to hear Taylor's words. Bang. The back of her head was instantly pushed into the soil by Tyr, and she was knocked unconscious again. Don't yell when I'm worshipping my benefactor. Looking at the familiar big tree, Tyr looked up at the top of the tree. Tyr slapped and covered his face. He didn't expect that melody to be able to open a concert. Ah. You are all enslaved by me. If you don't listen to me, who will you listen to? Entering the compound, Taylor opened the door. Advertisement. Crunch. Taylor reached out and knocked on the door. Walking along the farming path of Dex village, Tell soon came to the most prosperous dock area in the village. Putting down his luggage, Taylor dug out a stack of banknotes, amounting to 1 million belly, and walked outside the house. A piercing scream came out of the house, and Tyr disapprovingly took Shisha and Tiffany to the village. Get up. Tell flicked Im on the back of the head, waking him up from coma on the spot. Who are you, kid? After saying that, the door was closed by Tyr, leaving Im with a face full of embarrassment and anger, standing in a daze in the beer house full of spider webs. I have been reduced to a cleaner, a tool for feeding people. Boom, boom, boom. The house was filled with cobwebs and dust inside and outside, and it seemed that no one had ever lived in it since it was recycled. It was here that the fruit hit him on the head. I want to eat. I didn't expect it to be so big. Those who have learned your songs have set up a concert in the village. Im, who woke up from the pain, was filled with anger and looked at Tyr ferociously. When have I ever suffered such humiliation? The truth of this news surprised Tyr. He had always flown back directly before. Clean this house. The old loss quickly remembered. You are the kid who teaches your peers to sing strange songs every day. Was that an accident? Why should I listen to you? Karina's men gave you herbal medicine to dispel wind, cold and rhinitis. Have you forgotten? After paying homage to Karina, Tyr got up and walked towards a house outside the forest. The door of the house opened instantly, and an old Madara with a full head of hair and wrinkled skin looked at Tyr outside the house. I'm going to buy the house deed. If you don't finish cleaning before I come back, I'll starve you for another week. 500,000 Baileys. Old Ross stretched out 5 fingers. I'll buy the property deed. Karina's house should be resold to me. It's far away from the village and no one lives there. 3-1 in front of the house. Okay, Taylor agreed readily. Old Loss, are you dead? I never knew what was going on in the village. Chapter 215 The Monster with a Bounty of 10 Crowns. Inside the village chief's house. Because Old Loss was the village chief and considering his old acquaintance with Karina, the house was left vacant these years. Taylor signed his name, took the house deed and left. Let's go, Old Loss. If you feel unwell, find someone to contact me to get medicine. 500,000 belly, to get back the old house, is not bad. Tell left the room and parted with him to say goodbye. Walking on the street, Taylor suddenly stopped in an alley and looked sideways. The place where the fruit's ability was first triggered. Tyr smiled after thinking about it, and then walked to the market. As he walked through the densely populated market, the 2 baby girls floating beside him were very eye-catching. Well, the medicine grinder has also aged. Tyr stopped at the shop where he bargained for various stone mortars when he was a child, holding his chin and thinking. The boss, who used to have a thick black beard, is now a little gray. Brother, do you want to buy a stone mortar? The boss squinted and found that Tyr looked very familiar. I just can't remember who it is. Is there a discount? Taylor subconsciously smiled at him and asked. It's all fine craftsmanship, a small business, you are. Hearing the familiar words, the owner of the stone mortar quickly reacted and stared at the mature-looking Tyr with wide eyes. You are Tyr. Hey, Theodore, how's business? Taylor called out his name and greeted him. Your body. Teal. Theodore's eyes were full of heartache, and he couldn't believe the guy who caused trouble in the village back then. Now there are slash scars all over his body, even on his face. Well. Seeing Theodore paying attention to his injuries, Tyr lowered his head and touched the scar on his chest. It's nothing. It's hard to imagine what you have gone through. Sell me a medicine grinder. How many pele? Haha. The price has increased now, boy, 500 Baileys. Okay. After paying and packing, Taylor used his ability to levitate all the purchased items behind him. When he was about to leave, he was suddenly stopped by the owner of the stone mortar. Advertisement. He pointed to the two children held in Tyr's left hand and asked, Are they the children you gave birth to? No, Taylor, who walked towards the food selling area, turned his back to him and waved his hand in response. Suddenly, many civilian soldiers in Dex village took newspapers of the latest New World meeting and began to publicize them throughout the village. Teal, who purchased large amounts of food, saw reports in newspapers that he was being touted as a Marine legend. Give way. Colonel Knowles has good news for everyone. There is some good news in the newspapers. One is that today's world government has undergone tremendous changes, and the rulers are no longer celestial dragons. Secondly, the world's participating countries will no longer wage wars with foreign countries, but will fully assist Marine in maintaining order and peace at sea. Third, the gold in the sky has been greatly reduced, and the government will no longer restrict the development of various countries. Wait. Major events and pro-people policies. Tyr looked at the contents of the newspaper, raised the corners of his mouth, and wrinkled his eyes slightly. The Marine general who created a new era of peace retired and was hailed as the youngest legend and hero in Marine history. The god of marine martial arts who was praised by future generations. This guy is exaggerated by them. It's just that he got some special power to hang us up and beat up the brats. Croakdal was reappointed as Shichibukai by the government? Several young men in their early 20s who were in the market were reading the contents of the newspaper. Taylor suddenly passed by them with his two children and listened to these words. Yeah. Taylor muttered softly, it's indeed too much. But only Tyr himself knew that the devil fruit ability in his body was strengthening his body and various combat indicators all the time. If you want to transcend in this world, unless you rely on technology, it is absolutely impossible to threaten him in terms of ability. Wait. Why do you look so familiar to him from the newspaper? ***. It's you who deserves a beating. The people who called Tyr to stop were the men who bullied him when Tyr had just traveled through time. That is the Oham Tune singing group that Dex is now in. They clenched their fists and their faces were full of dissatisfaction with Tyr. You are now public figures in the village. Seeing that they wanted to take action, Tyr immediately reminded, it wouldn't be a good idea to take action in the market, right? What's so great about you that makes people on the sea praise you so much? Give it back to General Marine, Itui. If you don't believe it, just F***K him. A group of people attacked Tyr in front of Marine. Advertisement. Even if he didn't use his domineering power or ability, Ty could knock them down with his fingernails now. In less than a minute, several people were beaten by Tell with bruises on their noses and faces, and were lying on the ground dying. Hey, don't stir up trouble. After Marine recovered from Tyr's inhuman agility, he ran over to maintain law and order. You are such a constant B*********************. We just want to welcome you back in this way. It's such a heavy blow, damn it. You will never want to hear our Oham Tune singing group's concert again. Who wants to hear? Just hearing the name of the concert made Taylor want to vomit, but he still went to listen to it. After a while, the contents of the newspaper were widely publicized throughout Dex village. Not wanting to attract too much attention, Tyr left directly after purchasing the food. In the market, a few malicious guys suddenly took out a piece of yellowed paper and compared it with Tyr's photo. You can't be wrong, this guy is worth 10 crown monsters. That organization put a bounty of 10 billion Baileys on my head. It doesn't seem like anything serious. The gangsters looked into each other's eyes with smiles on their faces. Tonight, we are going to make a fortune, brothers. The murderous aura of Tyr is no different from that of ordinary people, so they cannot detect it at all. Tyr was not aware of the fact that he was being rewarded with 10 crowns. A new organization created by Buggy, one of the current Shichibukai clowns, offers a bounty. Ever since he became a Shichibukai, he has kept a low profile and secretly began to use the huge treasure of the original rocks to place a large bounty on Marine. The destruction of his dream and the death of his friend in the battle have led the clown Buggy to take this method to take revenge on the sea. Even though they knew how terrifying Tyr was, many desperados were still looking for Tyr on the sea after receiving a bounty of 10 billion belly. They all want to use assassination to get this huge sum of money and live in seclusion in the world. After walking through the forest path, Tyr purchased many daily necessities and quickly returned to his home. The courtyard of the house, which was originally covered with spider webs, moss and green plants, became completely new under Im's cleaning. Good job, Im. Taylor opened the door and noticed a surge of resentment. Im's hair was messy and his eyes were red with hunger as he stared at Tyr's face from a distance of less than a decimeter. The next moment, Tyr threw Chisha and Tiffany into her arms and said, "It's time to breastfeed." %%. After hearing this, Im grinned with anger and couldn't even speak in a human tone. Chapter 216. Im talking about 800 years ago. Feed milk and eat after feeding. I haven't eaten for 8 days, where can I find milk? Im resisted extremely. She didn't want to suffer this kind of torture anymore and planned to resist. I said. Taylor came to her and continued, "Breastfeed." "No, you brat." "Okay, don't eat later, I'll get goat milk for them to drink." When he heard the word, eat, Im, who was very resistant, subconsciously picked up the 2 children and walked into the bedroom with a look on his face that was almost crazy. "Can't I cure you?" Seeing the whole room being cleaned, Tyr suddenly found a piece of paper on the table where he and Karina studied medicine. The names of various Chinese medicines and herbal medicines are written on it. Eucama ulmoides, Ligusticum chuanshang. Tisk, I never thought at first that dried bark can actually be used as traditional Chinese medicine. Tyr picked up the medicine list and muttered to himself, tearing it into pieces in his hands. This day was particularly pleasant and long for him. If it's all meat. Looking at the table full of meat without any vegetables, Tyr decided to take it to the compound for roasting. Until evening came, the clouds in the sky began to turn red, and the smell of barbecue attracted Im from the house. If this were at the G8 base, I wouldn't even have to do it myself. I would just lie next door. "You brat. Give it to me quickly." Looking at the milky white faces of Chisha and Tiffany, and the haggard-looking Im, Tyr had no mercy for her at all. However, he still handed a grilled fish to her hand and held Chisha and Tiffany in her arms. "In a few days," Teal said, watching Im devouring a fish weighing about 5 pounds. "Hancock is coming too. It's delicious." Eating Telko's fish, Im didn't care about anything else, and swallowed hard with tears in his eyes. For the first time in her life, she encountered inhuman treatment. It was hard for her to believe that she was the king on top of the world just a few days ago. In the blink of an eye, Tyr used force to pull him down from the altar. Haha, the king of the world also looks like this, it really makes me laugh. In less than a minute, the 5 kilograms of fish were chewed into pieces by Emu and eaten into his stomach. More. Advertisement. By the way, since you have given birth to a child, is your child still alive? Tel asked her as he handed her a piece of barbecue and began to eat it himself. The old world was much more primitive than it is now. Im replied hesitantly with a mouthful of barbecued meat. Primitive? What do you mean? In any aspect, kid, until a country appears, and breaks all tranquility. Tyr didn't understand. What great kingdom? HMPH. Seeing Tyr's confused look, Im continued, 900 years ago. Do you want a story? Tel interrupted Im. It's not a story, it's history. Why do you want to tell me? The last time I went camping in the wild was more than 800 years ago. Can't it be done on a whim? Ty was speechless and stopped talking. A country called the Great Kingdom emerged from the sky and swept the entire world with its absolutely dazzling technological power. There was technological power in the primitive era? Are you kidding me? Haha. The truth is that it's such a joke. Im looked happy, eating the long-lost food and looking up at the sunset in the distance. At that time, the Tianlong people had not yet established their base in the Red Earth continent, and no one knew that there was a country at the top of the Red Earth continent. Wait a minute, how many countries did you mention in total? 2. Oh, continue. A contented Tyr lay on the grass of the compound, listening to Im continue to speak. We 20 kings didn't know each other and didn't form a world government organization until the Great Kingdom appeared with terrible weapons and threatened countless countries in the world. They used the clarion call to emancipate slaves to declare war on the whole world, and wanted to liberate slaves across the entire sea. Under the slogan of freedom, he invaded countless slave countries and wanted to create a completely equal and just continent. Relying on the power of advanced science and technology, the world soon fell into a huge war. Countless countries were invaded and liberated, and a large number of creatures quickly perished. At the beginning, the 20 most powerful kings in our world had no choice but to form a huge coalition to launch a rebellion against the countries related to the Great Kingdom. In the end, the Great Kingdom and the countries related to it were completely wiped out in the sea. As he listened, Tyr suddenly felt something was wrong. He took a bite of the barbecue in his hand and asked. Advertisement, wait a minute, according to what you said, you were still standing for justice back then. Haha, you ignorant kid, you must have never seen those huge robots burning with sea stones killing creatures, right? As he spoke, Im seemed to have a tragic scene of the war in his eyes. Then why is it now squeezing the whole world? Teal didn't care about these historical things at all, and asked about the previous government out of curiosity. Listen to me. Seeing Tyr interrupting, was a little angry. After the expansion war of the Great Kingdom was defeated by us, we borrowed their technological power and launched the final war against the countries on the Red Earth continent. Following Im's whim, he told Tell about the origin of world government, including a series of events that eliminated the country called the Kingdom of God on the Red Earth continent. Oh, I forgot to tell you that later we discovered from the Kingdom of God that all the technological products of the Great Kingdom came from their experiments. This made Taylor aware of a problem. If devil fruit is a product of technology, what about Tyr's own power? I learned from Im's mouth that the sea stone is the mineral that absolutely binds the devil fruit. So why can he still use his abilities when he is handcuffed by the sea stone? The citizens of that Kingdom of God look weird, like all kinds of humanoid animals, but their brains are extremely smart. Like animals? That's not. Teal recalled what happened on Visalia Sky Island before. The guys Enel brought back were the ones Im described, and they were all wiped out by him with one blow. Moonman. I'm full. Burp. After eating, Im patted his belly and looked at Tyr with a happy face. You look like you were very interested in these histories? It's quite interesting. As long as you don't torture me like a slave, I can tell you anything at any time in the past 800 years. What I care about is not the past. I only enslave you because you are attractive and have a large amount of breasts. Tyr told her the truth. Boom. As night approached, there was thunder in the sky. A lightning storm came in an instant, causing Tyr to walk inside the house immediately. Dex Island, which could still be seen clearly, became dark. Only when lightning strikes can you vaguely see the environment outside the window. Chapter 217 Fear in the Blizzard. Returning to the house, looking out the window at the thunderous storm, Taylor could vaguely feel the smell of steel in the storm. Is this someone visiting in the middle of the night? By the way, you haven't told me what happened to your child. Tyr continued to ask Im. It ceased to exist 800 years ago, Im replied to Tell calmly, with no intention of hiding it. After being enslaved by Tyr for so many days, Im gradually began to let go of his noble dignity. Because she didn't realize that Tyr wanted to kill her. It's exactly as I guessed. In an era when technology was not yet mature, women would be reduced to marriage tools, or people would just live like primitive creatures. Im fell into silence and did not answer Taylor's words. It was like being touched at the heartstrings, and I no longer thought about the past. Snapped. Tyr patted her shoulder and comforted her. It's okay. It's all over. As long as you breastfeed our babies well, I won't do anything to you. After saying that, Taylor looked out the window with a grin. Several uninvited guests exuding hostility came with weapons in hand. You. Don't think that speaking to me like this will make me have a good impression of you. Im's pretty face turned red, and she suddenly looked in a daze as Tyr took off his shirt. Sooner or later, I will kill you. What are you doing taking off your clothes? Tyr handed Imu Chisha and Tiffany, and threw the white linen shirt on her head. Go kill people. Then he opened the door and dived into the darkness of the storm. Human? Im was a little surprised. Her domineering power was sealed by Tyr, and she couldn't notice any movement outside the house. Besides, the rain is so loud. Heavy snow gradually fell during the storm, and soon the entire Dex village was dyed a white color, and thick layers of snow piled up. This is the weird weather of the Grand Line, which is unpredictable and has no normal flow of seasons. Listening to the rustling wind outside the house, Im lowered his head and looked at the two baby girls in his arms. Killing you will relieve the hatred in my heart. The moment she suddenly raised her hand, ready to kill Chisha and Tiffany, the latent maternal nature in her heart suddenly overflowed. Remembering that these two guys had drank his own milk, Im became less determined and soft-hearted, unable to take action. Hateful. Ha, advertisement. Chisha and Tiffany looked at their nanny and couldn't help but show a baby smile that she couldn't resist. Wait until I kill him. Im gently caressed their faces, and his tone became gentle. Then I will kill you. Hey, finally, with a complaint, Im withdrew his long pointed nails and kept shaking his palms. Outside the windy and rainy forest, several bounty hunters came to Tyr's residence holding daggers. Damn it. The village is so big that it has almost evolved into a small town. Why does that guy live so far away? The leader of the bounty hunter said to his younger brother. This weather is very good to start with, boss. The younger brother licked the cold dagger, looking bloodthirsty as he couldn't wait to complete the mission and get the bounty. That's good, but we can't survive in such weather for one night. That guy is Marine General. The leader was still frightened and hesitant about Tyr's strength. Looking at the houses without oil lamps in the distance, he did not dare to conclude that Tell was sleeping and resting. What happened to the general? The younger brother suddenly said. In normal life, we are not the same as ordinary people. As long as we. He picked up the dagger and gestured in the air, wiping it off as if it were a branch, as if it were Tyr's neck. Erase his neck like this and chop off his head quickly. Even the gods can't save him. The extremely skilled techniques have boosted the confidence of other bounty hunters. That's right. Boss, give the order. 10 billion belly is enough for our future generations. After a few minutes of careful consideration, The bounty hunter leader's eyes covered with frost and snow gradually became firm, and he pulled out the dagger at his waist. That's right. No matter how powerful a person is, he will die if his head is cut off without knowing it. We're ready, boss. Let's do it for the future. Boom. A sudden roar illuminated the darkness, reflecting their evil figures with evil intentions. When everyone was ready, lightning and thunder illuminated the way ahead of the snowdrift. Tyr held the black knife and smiled like a shinigami. He stood at the door of the compound with his head lowered and motionless. Wait a minute. The leader looked at the door of the compound ahead and was suddenly startled. He poked his eyes and planned to wait for the next wave of lightning to come. I think I saw a figure just now. This sentence made the bounty hunter's already cold body even colder, as if it was about to freeze at any time. Advertisement, will he be discovered? Boom. A second bolt of lightning came, and the darkness was illuminated again. The bounty hunter leader held his breath and stared at the illuminated area in front of him. Is it an illusion caused by being too nervous? Being a bounty hunter, especially when it comes to assassinating people who are stronger than you, will naturally lead to tension and panic. This fear was quickly suppressed by him, and he looked back behind him with a grin. Brothers, we can find wealth in danger, we. Before he finished speaking, the third lightning bolt completely stopped him in place. He looked at the huge blizzard behind him, and Tyr's eyes were red, appearing like a demon in the heavy snow about 30 meters away from them. What's wrong, boss? Hurry up, I'm just waiting for your order to increase your courage. Behind. It's over. This guy is no ordinary person. The contents in the newspaper are all genuine. The fourth lightning made Tyr's figure disappear from his sight again. The leader of the bounty hunter suddenly widened his eyes, pointed a dagger behind everyone with a look of fear on his face. Boom. The moment the fifth bolt of lightning exploded from the clouds, the lightning reflected Tyr's huge figure and enveloped them all. Who stood up? Are you G stupid? What if he finds out about the shadow cast by lightning? Hurry up and squat down, that's 10 billion Baileys. All the bounty hunters turned around suddenly and saw an extremely fast blade flash across their necks. Well, the bounty hunter who was decapitated by Tyr and chopped off was shocked. The spinning vision made them all stunned, and they had no idea what was happening. It wasn't until their brains fell to the ground that their brains sent them a death message that their heads and bodies were separated. When the leader of the bounty hunter saw this scene, he couldn't hold back the fear in his heart and screamed. The roar of wind, snow and lightning covered up his screams. He lay in the snow and looked at Tell, who moved less than 1 meter in front of him. He was naked to the waist and holding a black knife that made his whole body hairy. Well. Tyr suddenly covered his chin and looked at the bounty hunter in front of him and began to think. It seems that I have been a soldier for a long time and have forgotten that there are many hidden dangers in ordinary life. Looking at the bounty hunter, who looked like he was experiencing a thrilling and strange experience, Tyr asked him with interest. What did you mean by the 10 billion Baileys? Chapter 218. Crossguild. In such bitterly bad weather, the bounty hunter had been frightened by Tyr's appearance and actions. Me. Staring into Tyr's cold eyes, the bounty hunter's teeth trembled so much that he couldn't speak. Fear and cold invaded his body and mind, making him unable to function normally as a living being. There is only the word, death, in my mind. It seems that if I ask you in this situation, I won't be able to get any information. Holding the back collar of the bounty hunter leader, Tyr walked towards his compound. When he came to the door of the house, Tyr knocked on the door and said, It's me, blindfold her eyes. Gate of opening. I am put on warm clothes for Chisha and Tiffany, slowly opened the door and watched Tyr dragging someone in. What's going on? I am hugged Chisha and Tiffany and asked curiously. Looks like a bounty hunter. Tyr dragged his body towards the basement. Just one day after returning to Dex village, trouble came to the door. This made Teal very angry. After retiring from the Marine Corps, are you no longer able to live a normal life? Who wants to kill him? Bounty hunter. Is Marine so treacherous? You just did them. Not Marine. Im's words were interrupted by Taylor. What if Akainu is really afraid of Tyr's strength, retires from the post of general and wants to be eliminated? That was absolutely impossible. Marine would never be so stupid as to put a bounty on an enemy that was impossible to defeat. After watching Tyr dragging people into the basement with his own eyes, Im stopped asking. Alas, my job is just a feeding tool. Political matters have nothing to do with me anymore. Light the oil lamp and illuminate the dark and messy room filled with various tools. Tyr sat down on a dusty chair, and then threw the bounty hunter in the corner of the wall. Inadvertently, Tyr saw a piece of yellowed paper in his pocket, which was very similar to the reward order. What's in your pocket? Reaching out and sucking in the air, Taylor sucked the wet paper into his hand, folded it and took a look. It was Tyr's handsome face, with a drawing of life and death plus 10 crowns written underneath. What is this? Isn't it Marine's reward order, a prank? Advertisement, General. I'm just a civilian, please forgive me. I don't know anything. The bounty hunter leader's body warmed up a little, and he immediately kowtowed and knelt down to beg Tyr for mercy. I have been fighting for so many years and I am very sensitive to hostility. You want to kill me? No. There is absolutely no such thing, I swear to God. Just as he swore, a super loud thunder in the sky resounded throughout the sea, causing the leader of the bounty hunter to tremble all over, and hurriedly hid in a corner, holding his head and shaking. No. It's not a creature of the same dimension as the guy in front of me. We'll die. We'll die. You will die no matter what. If you tell me, I will spare your life. If you don't tell me, I will kill you now. I can find the truth myself. No. They will assassinate me too. Are you afraid of me, or of that organization? Of course. 3. 2. Seeing the man being so agitated, Tell directly started to count the numbers and threaten him. I say. The Guild of the Cross, a newly organized assassination organization in the New World. The reward for you is 10 billion belly, which has shaken countless people in the world. Cross Guild. Tyr didn't know the later plot of One Piece, so he didn't know that this organization was created by Buggy. That's right. Please spare me, I've already said it. I have never heard of this force, it is really a generous act. 10 billion belly can support the expenses of a town. Then do you know who is the mastermind? I don't know. As long as we take the target and exchange it for money, they will definitely give it. Then. Tyr squeezed the handle of the knife, stood up and approached the man. Do you have any other information that may be useful to me? No. No. Still. There is. The black knife instantly penetrated the throat, wiping out all the bounty hunters who wanted to assassinate Tyr. I have never been merciful to people who want to kill me, and you are of no use either. You are brave. I noticed Tyr's motive and tried to break away but was unable to do anything. I am the king. How could I do that kind of thing with a brat like you? Anyone can redeem it. These words made Tyr even more vigilant. You didn't attack them just now and saved your life, old monster. When he came to the forest outside the compound, Tell found a place and cut a large hole about 10 meters deep with a knife, and threw the body into it. Advertisement. Then looking at her alluring body, she was even more conquering than Hancock. I can't sleep because of this matter. There happens to be a beautiful woman like you in the room, and you are still my slave. Didn't you say before that my hair didn't even grow? Now let's verify it for myself. Huh. Looking at the blizzard all around him, Tyr let out a long sigh. The Cross Guild. It seems that he wants to use his already possessed kingly aura to suppress Tyr. Are you asleep? Tyr looked at the two babies in Im's arms and fell into a deep sleep as she coaxed them to sleep. That means that anyone who wants this huge sum of money will become a threat to Tyr. What are you up to? After loading the body with an empty sack of herbs, Tell went out again bare-chested in the extremely cold weather. For example, people like Hancock and Im, who once wanted to kill him, are now infatuated with Tyr, and the other as a nanny will gradually be included in Tyr's harem. I've long wanted to try a woman like you who is still charming, but they are my comrades in arms and I can't do it. Tyr took out a bottle of red wine from his supply bag, calmly lay down on Karina's sofa and drank it. Of course, high temperatures such as fire and magma cannot. How dare you? Im forced herself to calm down, and suddenly sat on the sofa as gracefully as a king. They all have my sword energy in their bodies, just like you. As he said that, Tyr reached out and pulled Im to his side, hugging her waist and looking at her with a distracted look. You are my slave, you should be at my disposal. Taylor came to the sofa and bent the iron rod in Im's hand with one hand. Someone wants your life, you brat. Recalling the words of the bounty hunter leader, there is a reward of 10 billion Baileys. Wouldn't it mean that a crown is a billion Baileys? This made Tyr stunned and said to her, don't you think you can stop me? Let's live there for a while first, and learn more about this organization. Let's see if he has the strength. Tyr responded to Im's words, stared at Im and poured a sip of red wine into his mouth. Seeing Tyr placing the reward order on the table, Im leaned over and took a look. I'm telling you. Don't pull my clothes, you stinky. When he returned to the house, Tyr's body was covered with frost, but it did not have much impact on his body. 10 crowns. Isn't that 10 billion Baileys? There was still no way to stop Tyr's desire to possess her. How do you know? Im was shocked and didn't understand how Taylor knew. Tyr stood up, snatched the child from Im's hand and went into the bedroom to settle it down. Then he came out and locked the bedroom door and looked at Im, who was already on guard. Don't come here. I'm telling you, I'm covered in sea stones and I'll make you lose your ability. Im picked up the iron rod in the fireframe and swung it towards Tell. Although there are many exceptions, those exceptions will benefit Teal a lot. Nowadays, his strength can withstand a large number of natural environmental disasters. As long as it is not extremely cold below zero, Tyr can resist it naked. Chapter 219 T-Bone was killed by civilians. My people are my things. Since they are my things, I will let you have the consciousness of being a thing and see yourself clearly. Putting the wine bottle next to the sofa, Taylor raised his hands to fix Im's two delicate faces. Eyes apart, Im's forehead was slightly touched. Im wanted to resist, but was powerless. You. Shut up. Tyr directly kissed Im on the mouth, then held her body and fell towards the sofa. Then, he pulled off the clothes from Im's waist and abdomen. A few scars that had recently healed were exposed, which were slash wounds left in the previous battle between her and Tyr. This made Taylor stop all her offensive and ambiguous moves. Early the next morning, Taylor woke up from the sofa and found Im hugging him and shivering. No wonder you have to hide from me while breastfeeding. It turns out you don't want me to see the slashes left on you. All night last night, Tyr did nothing when he saw Im's injuries. He held her like this all night and slept until early morning. Let me go. Tyr loosened his hands and let go of her soft body. Im got up from Taylor and sat on the seat beside him, folding his arms and shivering. What a vulgar little brat, what are you thinking about? Enjoy life. Then I am not the object of your enjoyment. No, you must be next. It was because of your injuries that you escaped last night. Although there are Marines in this world to maintain order, most of the oceans are lawless zones. A woman like Im who cannot take care of herself is likely to be. Okay, I'm not a beast either. Taylor stood up and walked to the cupboard to start cooking food. After breakfast, we went to the forest to collect a large amount of Chinese medicine and herbs for her to heal her injuries. The purpose is naturally not to let something like last night happen, which would affect my mood. New World. Advertisement: a sunny town island pier somewhere. Trafalgaro and his companions replenished supplies in the town and were about to return their submarine to sea when the entire sea around the island was instantly frozen by a force. Captain, we are finished. The submarine is frozen by the ice. Luo's heart trembled, and he naturally understood who did this. In this world, there is probably only one person who can do such a thing. He suddenly looked at a huge white bear next to him, thought for a long time and said, Babo. What's wrong? Captain. How about you go back to the fur tribe? Being a pirate in this era is already a very wrong and stupid choice. In the current era, Intel destroyed the 4 emperors and changed the politics of the world government, leaving the pirates in a very bad situation. As a fur tribe, Beppo would naturally be accepted by the new policy. After all, his reward was only 500 belly. No, Captain, Beppo is your navigator and has become your inseparable partner. Under the new policy constraints, Shichibukai had to hunt down various pirates in the New World and let them fight each other to maximize their profits. Looking towards the end of the island, Aokiji, who was sent to New World to supervise the battle, approached the island leisurely riding a bicycle and wearing a windbreaker. Luo grinned, seeming to already have the end of his pirate journey in mind. Anesthetisation. He moved quickly, using the thumbs of both hands to knock Babo in front of him unconscious, and quickly asked his men to throw Babo into an unknown alley. Following Luo's instructions, after arranging the fainted Bebo, his friends returned to the dock. Staring at Aokiji approaching on his bicycle, Captain, do we really want to surrender? That guy is General Aokiji, a monster-like existence. If he is not captured without restraint, his entire army will be wiped out in an instant. Luo thought to himself, you can't escape by running. Today's Marine General will not let any pirates go. It's better to be alive than dead. Or wait for the times to change again, and you may be able to escape from prison. Aokiji shook his head at him and continued in a deep voice. No, that is not a normal death mourning, but the remains of the soldiers who were transported back to their hometown after the First World War in Wano country, and their families are crying for them. Aokiji's body drifted, and the bicycle seemed to be parked in a parking space, parked on the frozen dock. If Aokiji doesn't agree, he will use all his life's knowledge to fight to the death, knowing full well that he has no chance of winning. In the final analysis, the pirates in this era are so violent that it caused that guy to see too much misery in the world. What? A conflict between the hard pirates and the general immediately began with Luo taking the lead in attacking. Advertisement. Otherwise, who else would be there? Trafalgar Law, who has a bounty of 200 million baileys and has been on the run for 2 years without any news. At the beginning of a new era when generals are urgently needed, the first unexpected incident that shocked Marine occurred. Aokiji pointed to the town behind Luo, where some houses were hung with white silk ribbons, and said, didn't you see those houses? Alala, T-Bone, who was just promoted to lieutenant general, was killed by civilians in his base town. That's right, a sneak attack killed him, and the civilian who killed him is escaping. Is that guy you're talking about Tyr? Luo asked. He already knew his end in his heart. Rejoice, if it had been that guy, there would have been human flesh fragments all over the ground. But Luo made a mistake this time. He didn't know that Tyr had an almost eternal lifespan, and that his strength would break the rules of the world bit by bit over time. Such news first spread throughout the Marine Corps, causing officers to start guarding against civilians. Brubru, is there any news about CP Spy? Far beyond the concepts his brain could comprehend. The news brought by the soldiers shocked Aokiji. Civilians are the targets of Marine protection. In the history of Marine, there has never been a general killed by civilians. The brief and intense turbulence soon disappeared at the pier, leaving only Aokiji's body transformed into elements, looking at a humanoid statue in front of him with a relaxed expression. Not yet, New World is investigating, so he acted very calmly. The Heart Pirates were instantly defeated, and Trafalgar Law was captured by Aokiji. This is Aokiji. What's wrong? The other injured were either disabled or missing arms and legs. I no longer intend to resist in front of a general. Can you Marines treat my subordinates well? Luo asked tentatively. Damn it. After all, that guy was too cold-blooded. Wano country had more than 100,000 casualties, and the death toll alone reached an astonishing 100,000. This is impossible. Aokiji rejected him directly. Of course I know, isn't it normal for dead people to die? Haha, I didn't expect that the General Aokiji would come. Parking his bicycle, Aokiji entered the dock and came to everyone in the Heart Pirates. He sat with his legs crossed and looked at them with horrified faces. Civilian? Aokiji's expression became stern, his brows furrowed in surprise. The phone rang on Aokiji's body, and he calmly answered the call. On almost every island in the New World Sea, there will be several family members hanging white silk ribbons in memory of the soldiers. Chapter 219 T-Bone was killed by civilians. My people are my things. Since they are my things, I will let you have the consciousness of being a thing and see yourself clearly. Putting the wine bottle next to the sofa, Taylor raised his hands to fix Im's two delicate faces. Eyes apart, Im's forehead was slightly touched. Im wanted to resist, but was powerless. You. Shut up. Tyr directly kissed Im on the mouth, then held her body and fell towards the sofa. Then, he pulled off the clothes from Im's waist and abdomen. A few scars that had recently healed were exposed, which were slash wounds left in the previous battle between her and Tyr. This made Taylor stop all her offensive and ambiguous moves. Early the next morning, Taylor woke up from the sofa and found Im hugging him and shivering. No wonder you have to hide from me while breastfeeding. It turns out you don't want me to see the slashes left on you. All night last night, Tyr did nothing when he saw Im's injuries. He held her like this all night and slept until early morning. Let me go. Tyr loosened his hands and let go of her soft body. Im got up from Taylor and sat on the seat beside him, folding his arms and shivering. What a vulgar little brat, what are you thinking about? Enjoy life. Then I am not the object of your enjoyment. No, you must be next. It was because of your injuries that you escaped last night. Although there are Marines in this world to maintain order, most of the oceans are lawless zones. A woman like Im who cannot take care of herself is likely to be. Okay, I'm not a beast either. Taylor stood up and walked to the cupboard to start cooking food. After breakfast, we went to the forest to collect a large amount of Chinese medicine and herbs for her to heal her injuries. The purpose is naturally not to let something like last night happen, which would affect my mood. New World. Advertisement: a sunny town island pier somewhere. Trafalgaro and his companions replenished supplies in the town and were about to return their submarine to sea when the entire sea around the island was instantly frozen by a force. Captain, we are finished. The submarine is frozen by the ice. Luo's heart trembled, and he naturally understood who did this. In this world, there is probably only one person who can do such a thing. He suddenly looked at a huge white bear next to him, thought for a long time and said, Babo. What's wrong? Captain. How about you go back to the fur tribe? Being a pirate in this era is already a very wrong and stupid choice. In the current era, Intel destroyed the 4 emperors and changed the politics of the world government, leaving the pirates in a very bad situation. As a fur tribe, Beppo would naturally be accepted by the new policy. After all, his reward was only 500 belly. No, Captain. Beppo is your navigator and has become your inseparable partner. Under the new policy constraints, Shichibukai had to hunt down various pirates in the New World and let them fight each other to maximize their profits. Looking towards the end of the island, Aokiji, who was sent to New World to supervise the battle, approached the island leisurely riding a bicycle and wearing a windbreaker. Luo grinned, seeming to already have the end of his pirate journey in mind. Anestheticization. He moved quickly, using the thumbs of both hands to knock Babo in front of him unconscious, and quickly asked his men to throw Babo into an unknown alley. Following Luo's instructions, after arranging the fainted Bebo, his friends returned to the dock. Staring at Aokiji approaching on his bicycle, Captain, do we really want to surrender? That guy is General Aokiji, a monster-like existence. If he is not captured without restraint, his entire army will be wiped out in an instant. Luo thought to himself, you can't escape by running. Today's Marine General will not let any pirates go. It's better to be alive than dead. Or wait for the times to change again, and you may be able to escape from prison. But Luo made a mistake this time. He didn't know that Tyr had an almost eternal lifespan, and that his strength would break the rules of the world bit by bit over time. Far beyond the concepts his brain could comprehend. Alala, Aokiji's body drifted, and the bicycle seemed to be parked in a parking space parked on the frozen dock. Haha, I didn't expect that the General Aokiji would come. You. Aokiji pointed to the town behind Luo, where some houses were hung with white silk ribbons, and said, "Didn't you see those houses?" Advertisement, "Of course I know, isn't it normal for dead people to die?" Aokiji shook his head at him and continued in a deep voice. "No, that is not a normal death mourning, but the remains of the soldiers who were transported back to their hometown after the First World War in Wano country, and their families are crying for them. Damn it. After all, that guy was too cold-blooded. Wano country had more than 100,000 casualties, and the death toll alone reached an astonishing 100,000. The other injured were either disabled or missing arms and legs. What? On almost every island in the New World Sea, there will be several family members hanging white silk ribbons in memory of the soldiers." Parking his bicycle, Aokiji entered the dock and came to everyone in the Heart Pirates. He sat with his legs crossed and looked at them with horrified faces. In the final analysis, the pirates in this era are so violent that it caused that guy to see too much misery in the world. "Is that guy you're talking about Tyr?" Luo asked. He already knew his end in his heart. So he acted very calmly. Otherwise, who else would be there? Trafalgar Law, who has a bounty of 200 million Baileys and has been on the run for 2 years without any news. "I no longer intend to resist in front of a general. Can you Marines treat my subordinates well?" Luo asked tentatively. If Aokiji doesn't agree, he will use all his life's knowledge to fight to the death, knowing full well that he has no chance of winning. This is impossible. Aokiji rejected him directly. A conflict between the Heart Pirates and the general immediately began with Luo taking the lead in attacking. The brief and intense turbulence soon disappeared at the pier, leaving only Aokiji's body transformed into elements, looking at a humanoid statue in front of him with a relaxed expression. Rejoice, if it had been that guy, there would have been human flesh fragments all over the ground. The Heart Pirates were instantly defeated, and Trafalgar Law was captured by Aokiji. Brew, the phone rang on Aokiji's body, and he calmly answered the call. "This is Aokiji. What's wrong?" T-Bone, who was just promoted to lieutenant general, was killed by civilians in his base town. The news brought by the soldiers shocked Aokiji. Civilians are the targets of Marine protection. In the history of Marine, there has never been a general killed by civilians. Civilian? Aokiji's expression became stern, his brows furrowed in surprise. That's right, a sneak attack killed him, and the civilian who killed him is escaping. Such news first spread throughout the Marine Corps, causing officers to start guarding against civilians. Is there any news about CP spy? Not yet, New World is investigating. At the beginning of a new era when generals are urgently needed, the first unexpected incident that shocked Marine occurred. Chapter 220 So angry that he cursed. New World. Kale Bali, legal pirate mercenary base. The base of 7 warlords of the sea, Clown, and Buggy. That be ********** D. Stussy. The other emperors are helping us, why is she the only one who doesn't want to? A huge complaint came from an acrobatic tent on the island. The Clown Buggy is complaining that other underground emperors have reached agreements with him, only to be personally rejected by the most important intelligence expert, Stussy. Refused to assist in all pinnacle operations of the Cross Guild. Boss Buggy. One of Buggy's pirates walked into the tent with a Mediterranean civilian wearing very poor clothes. Come to Buggy. What's wrong? Buggy turned around and looked at the old man in a daze. Who is this old man? Boss, he just assassinated T-Bone civilians and compensated the very poor citizens of the kingdom, haha. The old man, who was dirty and in ragged clothes, squeezed his newsboy cap tightly in his hand, looked at Buggy and said, "Thanks to the Cross Guild for the bounty, I had no choice but to do this." Ha 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 ha. Buggy's temperament suddenly changed and he laughed loudly. No, you are our hero. Even if I can't see my family for the rest of my life, it's still better than them starving to death. Buggy looked at the old man with joy, never expecting that the bounty would be fulfilled so soon after it was released. How easy is it to use Rock's treasure to secretly turn poor refugees around the world against Marine? As long as it's not discovered, that's fine. Young ladies, we have a big banquet today to welcome our new partners. After delivering an impassioned speech to his subordinates, Buggy summoned all the cadres to the conference room to discuss the secret plan to assassinate Stussy. Seize her position as underground emperor. However, Buggy didn't know at this moment that Stussy personally brought the information to Mary Jo's Marine in the Holy Land. Holy Land Marie Joya, after the rule of the celestial dragons was pulled off the altar. Akainu brought about a huge political change in the world government, causing all high-ranking military officers to move to the Holy Land, Mary Jo. One is to facilitate the mission at sea, and the other is to allow the family members to live a better quality of life, so as to comfort the loyalty of the senior officials. Stussy, who changed from the Dark Emperor back to CP0 color changing clothes and wearing sexy fishnet stockings, came to the Holy Land Mary Jo in person. Stussy, I hope your arrival this time can bring me good news. In the office of the Fleet Admiral, he was holding a cigar and staring at Stussy who came in person. Sikaski was worried about what kind of loss T-Bone's death would bring to Marine justice. Well, this news can be considered both good news and bad news. Advertisement, how to say, In Sakaski's mind, although Stussy worked for the government, she was a cruel and vicious woman. No one knows what her purpose is. The information she provided was also very accurate and there was never any error. Regarding the death of Lieutenant General T-Bone, it was actually the work of the newly appointed 7 warlords of the sea, the newly created forces of Buggy the Clown. What did you say? Eating Marine's food and killing Marine in private made Akainu outrageous. Stussy reported all the news to Akainu. Seeing Akainu's expression so angry that his hands turned into lava, cold sweat broke out on his forehead involuntarily. That be asterisk 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 D. I remember it was said in the report that he and the red-haired man are called brothers, right? It's true. They grew up on the Roger Pirate's ship. Why do you have to come to me personally to give me information? Why don't you just send someone to come? Sakaski was very puzzled by this. Of course it is for your own safety, Lord Fleet Admiral. The Holy Land of Marijoya has now become a military center, so it is naturally one of the safest places. Having already known in advance that Buggy wanted to harm her, how could Stussy not know about these insidious plots? So coming to the Holy Land of Marijoya to escape assassination certainly has its drawbacks. I already know the matter. Kaliba Lee Island is not far from the G8 base. Let those war madmen created by Tyr himself go there. I have a better suggestion, Stussy continued without leaving. Tell me. Let the Shichibukai go and let them collide with pirates. This will reduce Marine's losses a little. No, enemies of justice must be dealt with by the righteous party. As far as Sakaski knew, the residents on Sword God Island were proud of death and fought for a living, which was the best choice. He immediately contacted Fujitora. The first order Akainu gave to Buggy, who was cheating on others and murdering officers, was to abolish his position as Shichibukai. Dex Village. Inside the house. I'm telling you, I am. If you don't want to die, just obey me. After checking the injuries on her body, Tyr realized how terrifying his slashing power was now. If it weren't for the neuron blessing from Im's previous strength and the damaged connection between Tyr's sword energy, I'm afraid she would have died from her injuries. Don't think I'm afraid of death. When Im wanted to speak harshly, Tyr pressed hard on her slash wound, causing her to scream in pain. What are you doing? Im suddenly turned around and looked at Tell warily and asked. Advertisement. It seems that you are very afraid of pain. It would be too easy for you to kill you. If you don't obey, I will torture you to death. You. Why are you so mean? I'm a sword, so naturally I'm cheap. Taylor showed her a disdainful smile, and then continued to apply medicine on her. Don't touch Lousy, you're Lousy's property. After bandaging Im's injuries, newspapers scattered all over the house fell from seagulls in the sky in large numbers. Im put on his upper body clothes and tightly wrapped the body exposed to Tyr's eyes. What are you wrapping? It's not like I haven't seen it before. Seeing the newspaper, Teal got up and walked outside the house. He stood in the courtyard and sucked at the newspaper in the air. Is this a civilian assassination of Marine? The cause of Lieutenant General T-Bone's death is unknown and has not been made public. Only death news was reported. Tell quickly learned what was in the newspaper and recalled what happened last night. Is it the Cross Guild again? It's not good, General Tyr. Just as Tyr was reading the newspaper in the courtyard outside the house, a soldier crossed the village island and came running with weapons in hand. I have resigned and am no longer a general, Tyr said angrily to him, not caring about his nervous expression at all. Nothing in the outside world can move him now. Pirates. Pirate ships are coming to this island. Pirate? Tyr's eyes turned red, and the color of his vision completely covered the sea beyond the island. On a pirate ship, many pirates were lying on the sail ropes waving their swords. Does it look like it was plundered? The arrival of the pirates caused Marine soldiers to gather at the dock. Tyr, who was on the island, called out the black knife and held the handle with his backhand. He was a little annoyed that the good thing didn't come true last night, but now a group of people came to vent their anger. The powerful aura that instantly burst out from Tyr's body knocked the soldiers flying to the fence of the compound. F*K your mother. Boom. The black knife suddenly fell from Tyr's hand like a thrown javelin. There was an explosion-like fluctuation in the air, and the black knife screamed as if it had locked the pirate ship. Like a meteor falling from the sky, it streaked across the sky above the village of Dex. A terrifying sword energy light radiated around the blade and rushed towards the sea.